The stage I was performing on was it was a house, and it had a little upper deck area, and they go, Will Foskey, and I'm climbing up the stairs. The applause has died out before I'm even halfway up the stairs. I'm on a deck now talking down at them, and my first thought was that I felt like Hitler. Nobody good throughout history has ever delivered a speech from a balcony. That's just not where good news comes from. They clapped, and I was like, who are you guys clapping for? They were like, Karen, and I said, who? And then everyone started booing me. Apparently Karen's the boss of whatever radio station this is. I just was honest. I was like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing here.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 126 of the Andrew Deitsch podcast. If this is your first time joining me, I want to thank you for checking it out. This show is all about having meaningful, in-person conversations with some of the most amazing people that I know. And today's program is particularly more silly than most episodes. But before I jump into the show, I wanted to mention that this episode of the podcast has been brought to you by Eyes Ahead Media. Now, Eyes Ahead is a group of creative professionals who understand the value of exposure. And in today's social media landscape, eyeballs are the new currency. The more attention you have, the bigger impact you can make. And over the last 8 months, Eyes Ahead has been perfecting their custom gifts. And they've helped over 30 brands get their gifts trending on all major platforms. And they've created more than 500 gifts that have been used by the biggest celebrities and influencers around the world and viewed over 750 million times. With their proven system, they consistently get millions of views within their first few weeks. The numbers don't lie, so if you're interested in having your face or brand seen by millions of people around the world, visit eyesaheadmedia.com/gif for more details. So my guests today are Will and Khaled from the Opinions and Shit podcast. They're Atlanta-based stand-up comedians, and their podcast is absolutely hilarious. I had Will on my show back in the day, episode 21, and he was one of the earliest guests, and now he's back 105 episodes later. I had an absolute blast on this episode. We talked about stand-up, what it's like to bomb on stage, and some really fucked up stories about old people. It was amazing, so please, without any further ado, welcome my friends Will and Khaled. What's up, guys?
What's up, dude?
What's up, dude?
Will, and it's pronounced Khaled, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I want to make sure I got that right off the bat.
Yeah.
How fucked up do people mess up your names? Like,
Oh, real bad.
All the time?
Yeah, nobody ever gets it right the first time.
Yeah.
The worst one is Khaled. That's the one that pisses
And
me
then
off.
they go, Caleb? And then they're like, all right, here's Caleb Elchoufi.
Yeah. Sometimes they guess Kyle, and I'm like, well, that would have been cooler. But no, it's Khaled. Yeah.
And then now there's like the singer Khalid, right? So now
I know, yeah.
That's
Now
what
you've
Bam
got it.
Margera said.
Ah.
Like we know, my friend got me that for my birthday. You can do Cameo and just make people say whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You're listening to Opinions and Shit with Will and Khaled," and we were like, "Oh, so close, but we'll still take it."
We'll still take it.
That was what I was thinking. I was like, he must know that of that person.
Yeah.
And he outranks you on the list of Khaleds, so you got to kind of go by his pronunciation.
But there's still DJ Khaled.
That's
I know,
true.
I know.
But that's not as good. I would personally, if I were you, rather be compared to Khalid than DJ Khaled.
I know. I had this one history teacher in my school in Augusta, and she was like trying to be all open-minded and shit, like trying to be like that beacon of hope in a place with all Republicans and whatnot. And she was like, how do your parents pronounce your name? And I was like, well, they say Khaled. But I never ask people to say that because nobody knows how to do the Kh noise. She's like, I'm gonna do that. I'm like, you don't have to. So she'd just be like, like she would just fall over every syllable of it. And I was like, I really just fucking rather you just mispronounce it regularly instead of having you try to pronounce it right and just being like,
Because the whole point was to make you feel more like at home, but she literally might as well be, hey, different.
Yeah.
Hey, different.
Yeah.
Different.
That's how it happened.
That's an interesting smelling lunch you have, different. Do you care to get up and tell everybody about it? Fucking stupid teacher.
I know, man.
That's that Blindside shit, dude, where the Sandra Bullock, she acts like she's the hero, but you're not. You just took this kid so you could have a good football team. You fucking suck.
Yeah, so
That's
I
amazing.
just tell people Khaled.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like if I'm thinking like DJ Khaled, but it's DJ
He goes
Khaled.
Khaled, I know.
It's like DJ Khaled.
I
So
know.
you're just fucked either way. No one's gonna pronounce your name.
Yeah.
ever. But that's like my last name. It's Deitsch, but it's like just so many letters and it's only one syllable. So people
yeah.
are like, they just get confused right off the bat. They're just like, I get Deitsch a lot, but it's people are just like, duh, and I'm like, it's me.
Yeah, I've never seen that many consonants in a row.
Yeah, it's weird that it's only one syllable, but it's like as many letters as, as a
Yeah.
last name should have, but
Is it German in origin?
it is indeed.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's funny because all in German, like if there's an I, if there's like an EI, it is pronounced like an I sound, but in English it'd be opposite. So if you're reading it as an American person, you would automatically say Deitsch. So it makes sense when people get it wrong. So, but at this point, I don't really care.
Sure.
But anyways, to give people some reference, so I already had Will on the podcast back in the day. It was like 2 years ago or something.
I saw you had Connor Peterson on, and I was like, I bet I can make this about me. I'll hit him up and see if he'll let me do it.
Yeah, man. And actually, I hadn't had any comedians on at the time, so it like ended up being perfect.
Sure.
And then you guys started your own podcast since
right.
then, which is awesome. Opinions and Shit.
Yes.
Which is like the best name, by the way, because that's all
Thank
a
you.
podcast is.
Thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. You know, a lot of people have been giving us flack for that, and it's just really nice.
I think it's awesome. I'm gonna title the title of this episode "Opinions and Shit" because it's
That's
like,
great.
Cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you guys are, and that's what the podcast is. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but anyways, so Khaled, I wanted to kind of get your story a little bit too, so that the viewers are caught up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we can just get into all silly stuff. But
Yeah.
so how did you? Yeah, where are you from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
K.H. Otten Eye Joe.
KH comment.
Huh? Okay.
Well, I grew up in Augusta, and then I went to college at Georgia Southern for a little bit. But nothing really happened there except I got arrested and some other shit.
Is it racist? Like when I think of Georgia Southern, I'm thinking like a bunch of good old boys.
Oh yeah, they are. Well, so was Augusta though.
Yeah.
I got used to it.
You grew
and
up
shit.
there?
Yeah, I grew up my whole life in Augusta, and
Nice.
then like they, with them, what I like about them is you know where they stand and stuff. You know.
You know where they stand, even if it's bad.
Yeah, you know where it stands because sometimes you encounter a hipster and the racism will slip out in like little utterances that they didn't mean. Like you'll find out about their views through like Freudian slips. Whereas in Augusta,
Yeah, they're all Black Lives Matter until you're like, should we go to Edgewood? And they're like, well, you know, and you're like, why don't you want to go? And they're like,
whereas like I remember there was a kid in my high school. He had a shirt on that he used to wear like every day. Maybe he had like more than one copy of it, but it said permission to kill terrorists. And it had like a fucking gun on it.
tell them about the
He's
barcode.
like Steve Jobs, and he has like a closet full of
Yeah,
those
instead of
shirts.
turtlenecks, it's just racist T-shirts.
What was the barcode one?
And then so the barcode on it for like the licensing number was 91101.
Oh
Because
God.
of that shit we did. No, I'm just kidding. But like, so
Where's your family from?
Syria.
Okay, nice.
So, but whenever I saw him, I was like, well, I know what he's, you know,
I know what he's thinking.
I know what he's thinking. So in a weird way, I like that. I like knowing where somebody stands on something, even if it disagrees with me, because then I know from right then on, you're not going to be deceived in something later. And then I always was a stand-up nerd, but I was like, how do I even go about doing stand-up? And then once I turned 21, I was like, well, now you're old enough to get into bars. So start doing stand. So I moved to Atlanta. I live with my sister. I still do live with my sister there and her boyfriend. And which is weird. And then I just started doing stand up. And I remember I saw Will and he was killing on stage. And I remember he said he was 21 on stage during this thing. He was really fucked up on stage too that one time.
I was still figuring myself out a little.
And he doesn't really get fucked up like that. But that one time, I remember he said he was on all this shit, but he was killing. And when he said he was 21, I was like, fuck him. How come he's already this good and he's 21? Like, it made me be like, I want to fucking, like it motivated me more. And then I wanted to, like, be his friend. It was weird. Like, I like this, like, friend crush
Yeah.
in a way.
I've had those. I've had those a couple
Well,
times.
I had him in, like, elementary school and middle school. But now I'm 21. I'm like,
Yeah.
I really
You
want-
weren't past it. You thought you outgrew it, but I awakened it within you.
I know. It was like Kevin the Cucumber from SpongeBob, where he just had all those nematodes behind him. I was like, I want to be a fucking Will's nematode, you know? So then, sure.
I want to go on record saying I'm flattered, but also a little uncomfortable.
I've
That's
never
fine.
heard the nematode analogy, but it's pretty good.
Every analogy I have is SpongeBob related.
Dude, I'm so
It
down with
applies
that.
to just about
Just
everything.
about everything.
Which is kind of crazy because I actually watched a YouTube like almost mini documentary on SpongeBob recently, and they were talking about why SpongeBob is perfect for memes. And it's because when you're younger, they made the show obviously like for adults too, right?
Yeah.
But when you're younger, you can appreciate it because you relate to SpongeBob, and then as an adult, you actually relate to Squidward. Because, it's kind of like the whole Batman thing. Like, you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. It's like, you either die a SpongeBob or you live long enough to see yourself become a Squidward, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of funny, but you start to relate to Squidward the more and more you get older.
I know,
because SpongeBob just has this like weird optimism. And then they also talked about why the show started to suck, and it was because SpongeBob stopped acting like a child and started acting like a weird in the beginning he was actually like an adult. It was just really like happy-go-lucky, and then as the show went on, he just became like an immature child,
right?
And wasn't as it just like he morphed as a character.
Yeah. I've seen some new episodes recently. Yeah, they added different elements to his character that it changed something with it, and it was like the little details. But it is like because whatever I am to open my comedy is what like Squidward is to the fucking clarinet, you know? Where like he had all these hopes and dreams and shit, and then nobody likes, you know. He's like solitude and E minor, and then he hits the first note, and Patrick's passed out. I love, that show relates to so much.
Yeah, for sure. So you started, you saw Will on stage, and you started doing stand up. Like, how do you even?
He had been doing it already. It wasn't like he saw me.
He saw you, and he's like, I've got to be.
That would be fucking badass if I'm responsible for.
Well, you said you were a stand up
nerd,
right? You were obsessed with stand up.
Yeah. I remember there was the Comedy Central after 1 a.m. would have this thing that was called like Uncut, Uncensored, and all this shit. So I got excited because it was gonna be titties. So I was like, oh, well, I just have to wait till 1 a.m. till I find something jerk-offable. But then instead they just showed Eddie Murphy raw. And I was like,
that also sounds like a porno, but it's not.
It's not. Yeah.
Eddie Murphy raw.
This girl's about to get fucked raw by this Eddie Murphy fella.
And so that came on instead, and I was like, well, this is cool too, you know.
You were just sitting there with your soft dick in your hand, like,
come on.
I guess this is okay, but this wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, pretty much. Because Uncut, Uncensored, you're expecting like fucking, you know. You're not expecting
and uncut too. That's also a porn reference.
I know.
Like, damn it.
But instead, it's just premises.
Sorry, Eddie Murphy. But anyways.
Yeah.
But that's funny, man, because I feel like a lot of, especially people in our generation, kind of grew up on that too, like weird Comedy Central, like all of a sudden. Because I remember I didn't even really know what stand-up was, but I remember sorting through iTunes one day or something, and I came upon some like Comedy Central, like 15-minute spots that they had like a whole section on. And I watched, freaking Brian Regan and like
Brian Regan's the goat, dude.
Brian Regan's the man.
Brian Regan is the best.
He's amazing because
he's very highly regarded by comedians.
Oh, for sure. And he's like amazing too because he's clean by like choice, but almost for the art of it. Like he's not necessarily clean because he's like a Christian. He'll swear in real life, but
well, and Seinfeld is clean too. But Seinfeld is a dick. He still is a dick on stage, which feels not clean in nature. Yeah. But Brian Regan seems kind of like a nice guy.
He totally seems like a nice guy. He seems like a family man.
Yeah, he was the first ever comedian I saw live. I remember like I bought tickets. He came to Augusta for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
And he came through, and he played in James Brown Arena, and then everybody was shouting out bits they wanted him to do,
which is weird, right? Because like as a stand-up comic, like your whole idea is to like not recycle material if you like put out a special or something.
And it's also weird that they want to hear jokes that they know by heart already.
Yeah.
So he said like, "Look, I'll take suggestions at the end," which is weird. Then at the end. He brought up a child on stage. It was a child. And he's like, what joke do you want to hear? And he held the mic and the kid was like, Pop-Tarts. And he was like, all right, go sit down. And he just did the Pop-Tarts thing like off request, and it murdered. And it was just weird because it's a weird way to set up a joke by having like a child introduce the fucking
and just say
subject.
one word.
Yeah, and then like Pop-Tarts. So the thing about Pop-Tarts, like now you're just like you've ruined the
you
ruined the illusion
that you're having a conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
But they didn't care.
But I think it's almost I heard I was listening to a podcast and they were kind of talking about that, how like some comedians like Gaffigan or whatever, they have these like bits that everyone knows, so they almost go expecting them to hear it, and they're like, he didn't even do his classic bit. Like it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point, but it's almost kind of like if you go to like a Kiss concert and you don't hear the greatest hits, and you hear their new album and you're like, what the fuck? I wanted to hear rock and roll. Is that Kiss Rock and Roll All Night?
Yeah.
Love Gun might be another one. I like
might
Kiss
be.
more than the two of you. I just realized, but that's okay. That's fine. That's totally cool.
Yeah.
But you get you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like you're kind of expecting to get the greatest hits.
Yeah.
And because that's all you know. But now I think a lot people kind of understand comedy a little bit more because of social media. Like they get it a little bit.
Oh,
better.
I know. It wasn't even because my first time ever doing it was in 2014. And I feel like even then, I remember telling people I was going to go try stand-up, and people were like, what? What do you mean?
It's a thing?
Yeah. And it's weird how it's changed in like such a little amount of time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think my first comedian I ever saw, I saw Aziz Ansari at the Fox Theater. I took a girl I was seeing at the time because I knew she really liked Parks and Rec, and I was like, okay, we'll see. I like his character on the show. And it was okay. I mean, like, he's a great comedian, but the opener, who's now a friend of Khaled and I, his name's Gilbert Lowand. He's like one of the funniest dudes ever. And he just went out there. I remember his opening joke is he goes, "I'm from Iraq. You know that country we went over and fixed?" And like, I was like, this guy is so fucking fun. And he did probably like 10 minutes or whatever. And then when I went to go try doing stand-up, he was there. And I made a connection in my head of just like, okay, this is like a real world where people can kind of do shit like that.
Yeah.
And that's the fucking coolest thing ever. Because when you do stand-up, you can meet your heroes.
Yeah,
Like, that's a real thing. Like, if you start playing acoustic guitar or whatever at a coffee shop, you're not going to meet Kings of Leon in a week. that's not how that happens.
Yeah, that's so true.
But me and Khaled, we've bumped into tons of different people.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah, I actually I went to the Comedy Store in LA in January, and I remember because I was with my buddy who's in a wheelchair, so we got like to go in the like back entrance.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
I need to get one of those.
No, I know,
Yeah.
right, dude? It's amazing. And the best thing when you have your friend in the wheelchair, you say you're his registered companion. No one will ever question shit.
That's
like you're like,
incredible.
I'm his registered
How
companion.
vaguely official.
I know, it's amazing. It works for planes. Like they'll get you right on the beginning. Like it's amazing,
awesome,
dude. Like
dude.
having at concerts, like no matter what tickets you have, you get to go in the ADA section. That's always better. Like
Oh,
sometimes
dude.
they even let you like at concerts if they don't have a section. It's literally like the fence in front. Like so you're literally just looking right up at the person.
Amazing.
And it's
that's
sweet.
awesome.
It's pretty cool. But the only thing is they limit you. So sometimes you can only have like one companion. So like if you wanted to go with a group of friends,
I thought
you're
you
like,
meant having a friend in a wheelchair limits. Yeah, they limit. You can't go upstairs. You can't fucking do anything.
Yeah, Six Flags
What's
is
your
a
friend's
nightmare.
name?
Richard.
Richard, you're fucking limiting the shit out of me right now.
So you
So
say
bad.
you can't
Yeah.
have 3 friends to one wheelchair
Yeah,
friend.
it's like
they all have to find their
wheelchair
own
guys
wheelchair.
are only allowed to have one friend. like it's hilarious, and also it's also funny because I've been out with them before, and like we run into like someone else in a wheelchair, and then all of a sudden people are like, "What's going on? Like, is there a wheelchair guy?" Like, there's like
Oh,
more
yeah.
than 2 of them. Like, it's like a whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
People
yeah.
are like, "What the fuck? Is there like a wheelchair convention going on? Like, what's the deal?"
Oh, that's
but
funny.
anyways, the point being, we kind of came through the back, and there's like the green room and everything, and it was crazy because like. Especially the Comedy Store, it's like so many legends just performing in one night.
Of
And I
course.
remember like looking in this one room, and there was like Chris D'Elia, Theo Von, Brian Callen, like all these people that I like listen to their podcasts
yeah,
and shit. And
yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, this is nuts. But it's totally true because it's like if you've got the balls to like do stand up and you're somewhat decent, like you're gonna be hanging with all the cool guys, like all the big ones.
I think. Well, they also come through to really regular places to do stand up.
Because
Yeah.
you got to work on your shit.
Yeah.
You have to.
No, it makes total sense.
It's not like if you do music, you can figure out if a song is good in the studio, you know?
yeah.
But like you won't really know if your jokes are any good or not.
yeah, unless you perform them in front of like real humans.
Yeah, and so we'll have people come through all the fucking time just to like, perform for the little crowd that we were just doing and shit.
No,
It's
it makes
fucking
sense.
awesome.
Yeah.
Do you ever find that people that come to the comedy, like, because you guys perform all around Atlanta a lot, like, do you find that people are like, oh, this guy again, he's doing these bits again? Or is it mainly like fresh people all the time that come?
I was pretty fresh. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of times you're going up in front of other comedians
That's true, too.
because they're all, they're
Yeah, that can be a motherfucker.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, then
And
yeah.
some of them like don't like you for your own interpersonal beefs or whatever when you've Squidwarded them, so they don't want to see you do well.
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. No, I know, who is, I feel really fucking bad because now I don't remember the guy's name, but the guy who, he died recently, and I feel really bad. And he always said, enjoy it. What was that guy's name?
No. That was Brody Stevens.
Yeah, Brody Stevens.
Oh,
Everyone always said he was
yeah.
like a comedian's comedian. Like all the people
He would
in the
yell
crowd
at
wouldn't-
he'd say, "I'm getting a laugh on cadence alone,"
Yeah.
being like it didn't matter what he said; they were gonna laugh anyway.
Yeah. It was amazing when I was in LA, like I was just talking about in January. I saw him
Oh yeah.
perform, and then he passed away like a month or two later, which was crazy because
have something
I
to
was
say to
really
that.
grateful that I got to see him because I remember hearing about him all the time on like other podcasts. People were like, "Oh, Brody Stevens, he's a comedian's comedian or whatever."
Yeah.
And so a lot of people in the crowd like don't get his stuff, but he's just hilarious.
Yeah.
So I have a comedy store story that's really kind of like that. I went and I was watching the show in the original room, and one of the things it said, "Please allow Pete Davidson. Like if he's in town, if he comes through, put him on stage." And my girlfriend at the time is super into Ariana Grande. This is like right when that shit happened. Her and
wow.
Mac Miller broke up, engaged to Pete Davidson. So we're like, "Oh fuck, I wonder what he's going to talk about." And so we're sitting in the crowd. Pete never shows up. But I look in the back and fucking Mac Miller's sitting right there, and he's got like a whole posse with him. And
Holy shit.
so we should stop going to the Comedy Store because I think it kills people.
Oh shit!
R.I.P. Mac Miller. That shit, he died like a week later, and we were like, "That's crazy."
Do you think he was there on purpose trying to see
I think,
Pete
dude,
Davidson or say
I don't
some
know.
shit?
I don't know because he seems like a pretty positive dude. I don't know how
that
he would have.
that seems out of character for him to come and like. But maybe he was just trying to fuck with him.
How fucking great would that have been though if he gets up and he's like, "Yeah, so," and then he's like. And he's like, that would have been the comedy set of a lifetime to have seen. Because
right.
the whole show, we were just like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God."
Yeah.
And then we're just like, "Oh, here's just some guy from the 70s
I
that's
was
still
telling
here."
Will, the only dead celebrity that I've ever gotten to meet or see in person was Dog the Bounty Hunter's wife, which is like the
So
worst
random.
fucking one. I
I
know.
didn't even know she was dead.
Yeah, she died. I don't even know what she died
Did
from.
you see it at a comedy club and then she died?
This is at the Comedy Store.
We can't go anymore.
She was at the Comedy Store
We keep
recently.
killing people, bro. We gotta stop.
Yeah, it was a breast enlargement surgery gone awry. You know? No, it wasn't. I don't know what she died from.
I was gonna say, damn, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, no, I think no, but she does have big fake tits though, or she did when she was alive.
Maybe she's getting him taken out.
I don't know. No, I ran into all of them at Universal Studios.
Yeah.
My friend took me. And we're on the way to a roller coaster. Have you been to Universal Studios?
Yeah.
Do you know Dueling Dragons?
Yeah.
Where it's two roller coasters and they look like they duel or whatever.
Yeah.
So the whole fun of it is you're gonna look like you're about to collide into people. And then so they're like, well, we have to clear out the whole line. And they were like, why? And they're like, oh, the fucking Dog the Bounty Hunter and his family requested to do
Ride it
dueling
alone.
dragons. Do dueling dragons by themselves, which defeats the purpose
Of the coolness
of
of
the
the trains.
of it.
Yeah.
I know. They're all dressed the same. They all had leather vests on, including their fucking little child. They're all dressed like they're about to go bounty hunting, but they're just trying to have a nice day at Universal Studios.
They're just hunting corn dogs at Universal Studios.
And that's exactly. And then what pissed me off about it too is that like people, because it turns out Dog the Bounty Hunter, a lot of his fans go to Universal Studios. Like a lot of
I guess that kind of makes sense because it's kind of like the
Florida.
Yeah, Florida fat people entertainment.
You just got right to the chase.
Yeah,
You're
like-
like, well, do
Dude,
we talk
that
about
was
it?
the weirdest thing when, like, cause I remember I was on a trip with my brother and we were like in Europe and stuff. And you don't see very many fat people. And then like immediately after we went to Florida, and I was just like,
Yeah.
was there this many fat people before? Or is this just Florida?
Yeah, it's a mess.
Like what the fuck?
They have all these like fucking cargo short, beer bellied fucking dads like, dog, can I get like they're all excited.
No.
And then he was like, he was the most standoffish dickhead. His whole family was.
Did
yeah.
you actually met him though?
No, I saw these interactions happen. I saw people be like rushing up with just they had whatever piece of paper they could find, hoping he could sign it. And they had security guards that were like just ushering people away. But it's like, then why are you wearing the leather vest?
That's true, man.
Put on a silly shirt or something to signify your amusement park.
It's like
Well,
trying
no,
to
because
pull
then
up.
they'll think he's Hulk Hogan. You can't win. He's gonna get busted no matter what he does.
yeah, that's true.
They're
That's
gonna
very
see the
true.
blonde hair and the hot dog skin, and
You
he's
know-
gonna get busted.
You know what's a funny thing about Dueling Dragons is they had to like eventually stagger the trains, so they got rid of the whole gag where you're trying to like go at each other.
Oh, really?
Because what happened was someone flung their shoe right at the time that they were going, and it like hit a lady in the face.
It sounds like somebody we know who won that duel. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the red team fucking permanently
team,
won.
yeah.
He's like, red team, yeah, and everyone's like, no, it's not what we wanted you to do.
Yeah, and so because I went there one time and they were like doing them at different times. I'm like, isn't this the whole point of the ride to like duel the dragons?
Right.
And they of course someone ruined the
I was
fun.
worried his fucking mullet was gonna get caught in the tracks too.
His mullet.
Dude, what I will say about Dog the Bounty Hunter is his mullet is longer in person.
Really?
Oh, it absolutely is. I was surprised. He also has a big ass bald spot behind him where you could tell they just fucking airbrushed for the show.
That's amazing.
Oh man,
That's amazing. I can't say that I was a huge fan of that show, but that's pretty
I
fantastic.
didn't really understand what he did.
It's worth mentioning, I think, if you run into any of the bounty hunters.
Yeah, he's definitely the most famous one,
Yeah.
except for Star Wars.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's literally what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when I was younger, I didn't know what a bounty hunter was, but I remember just like thinking like, oh, Boba Fett, he's a bounty hunter. But I didn't know what that was. And then
Hey,
don't
dog,
really know
how
what
come
it
you don't
is.
have a jetpack? What the fuck is
yeah,
this?
dog, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing, dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't exactly know what it is to this day.
I think it's when someone like has like a almost like a warrant out for their like arrest or whatever.
Yeah.
And like this guy goes, and that's like the bounty or whatever is the money that he would get. And so like he
some
goes
1800 shit. It's like those wanted signs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of
well,
like
you know
that.
what? I've watched enough of these shows to realize the big part of being a bounty hunter is having an argument in a gravel driveway. That's like a really big thing.
I think I might have been a bounty hunter once.
Yeah, that's it. For after watching those shows, so much of that is just what it is.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the repo shows and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the best memes. Is like the repo guy yelling,
Yeah.
like throwing the chair.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
It's amazing. But anyways, so but to go back
Sweet
to
transition.
yeah. So anyways, yeah, sweet transition. No, but to go back to you starting stand up and everything.
Yeah.
How did you kind of like get over the like hurdles of all that? Because I'm sure you ate shit on stage like quite a few times.
Oh yeah, I still do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to do it, to be honest. And then also, like, I think comedians are understanding too. Like, if you bomb, they've all bombed too. So you're not doing.
It's kind of like being a part of the brotherhood.
It's just
like,
don't
nice.
be. There's a lot of things about don't be a dick that a lot of open micers do. Where, like, for example, if they're bombing on stage, they'll blame the venue. And I always hated that shit because it's like, these people are nice enough to fucking let you do comedy here. Everybody here is eating pizza. None of them knew you were gonna do open mic comedy.
And they're drinking. Like they should be laughing.
Yeah.
Like, they're in a perfect environment to laugh.
Because there's a lot of times where you go up in front of audiences that have no idea there's comedy's about to happen. There's fucking children and shit. And if I see a
Like
child,
a bowling alley or something, or what types of venues?
a pizza place.
And they just have like a stand-up night, and people are just
kids
there.
eat pizza. We're there to do premises. Nobody knows that we're about to meet. And then you go into those forums, and then, look, if I see a child, I have nothing to go to. That's okay to say. Like I don't have like.
You're gonna be like, so do you masturbate yet?
I saw this. It's not like
And
suddenly.
now you're on a list.
It's not like I still have jerk off jokes. Like I don't have a thing to turn to. So I feel bad for them. I almost feel like I'm the one who should be apologizing. So I never blame the venue. But if you don't do shit like that and just your jokes don't land, it's like, well, you just come back and work on them. You know, nobody hates that. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like if you're doing.
But it is embarrassing. I will say it's very embarrassing.
Yeah. If you if new shit doesn't work, then that's okay because you're working on it, and you can easily rationalize it. But what stinks is if you have like your big closer and you're like, and then I da da da, and people are just like, and you have that face of that you were expecting a laugh to be there, and you just do this. So
yeah, right.
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
That's never fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's like the Jeb Bush clip where he was like trying to get some like applause.
Please clap.
Yeah, he's like, please clap.
Oh.
It's one of the most
great.
awkward moments
know.
ever.
Him and the tiny turtles too. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
These are my turtles.
Oh, you know.
Wait, what? Did I
Oh,
miss
bro,
this?
what?
He
Oh.
had these tiny turtles that said "slow and steady wins the race."
He was like giving him
He
out or
was giving
something?
him out.
And the best is then a kid.
What?
It cuts to a kid, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah," and he gave me this turtle. I don't really know. And then it cuts to, and he's like, "The turtles? Why does everyone keep asking about that?" More people were being like, "Dude, what's up with the turtles?"
Turtles,
I
yeah.
like turtles.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
remember that kid?
Oh my
That's amazing.
god!
Yeah, my favorite thing that Trump ever did was make fun of Jeb Bush's hands. He's like, this motherfucker's all sweaty and shit all the time. And Jeb Bush is all flustered. He's like, what about the policies?
Yeah, that was one of the most genius things that, I mean, love him or hate him, but Trump was real good with the
Oh, he was absolutely good at that.
the insults.
I
And he
know.
would come up with names like Crooked Hillary and
Bro,
shit.
I
I
couldn't
don't like
believe-
Trump, like he banned Arabs and stuff, but I did laugh during the primaries. You know?
Yeah, he put a recall out.
Oh yeah, I had a little joke about that shit.
Oh, that's funny, man.
But yeah.
That's funny. So, with bombing on stage and everything, everyone does it. So comics are like more understanding when you bomb. But
If you do it on a showcase, that's worse. Like if you get booked for something and then you bomb, that's a bad look. But if you're at an open mic and you bomb with new shit, yeah, you kind of. Well, but there was this one weird gig. Speaking of Trump and stand up, I did stand up comedy. In Colquitt, Georgia, which is like an hour south of Columbus and an hour north of Tallahassee. It's like a one red light town. So I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I'm used to redneck shit, but this is
and you were
beyond.
on a show. You were on a showcase.
Dude,
Or-
it looked like a cafeteria for like old people and shit. Everybody in there, like, they serve food that you didn't know restaurants had, like meatloaf. Like, I've never seen meatloaf on a menu, but sure enough, there's people eating meatloaf. And there's children. And I have to do 20 minutes, which is longer than I have to talk to anyway. And this guy came up to me. He was like, all right, look, don't bring up Trump. Don't say the word fuck. Don't say goddamn. And don't talk about pussy. And you got to do 20 minutes. And I was like, shit, dude. And so
You can't say that either.
so then, like, I managed to somehow go 10 minutes. And it was still gross, but people were laughing. But I kind of started breaking the rules. But then eventually I was just like, they told me I can't talk about pussy. But we got to the point where I have nothing else to talk about. Like, literally.
10 minutes and you've run out. That's the best.
I have nothing else to. So I was like, well, here it goes. So strap in, fucking meatloaf red-faced, about to have a heart attack, motherfuckers. And then so the last 10 minutes went terribly.
Oh my god.
But then the dude that brought me down there, it was Kyle Gillis, who is the weirdest person ever. He's really cool, but he's a strange person. And like he has like long hair. He's like a real like Dungeons and Dragons vibe to him, but he's cool. And he had to do 45 minutes in front of him, and I was
Can you
standing.
do 45?
he's like, you know, Workaholics, the one that's not the three of them, their drug dealer.
Yeah.
That's what he's like. That's
Yeah.
kind of his vibe.
And so then
The guy who had the rape van.
Well, let's not put that on Kyle, but yeah.
I think his name was Carl or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I stood outside, and just because I didn't want to be in there anymore. And then people were filing out of Kyle's set, and every time the door would swing open, I would hear what Kyle's talking about on stage, and it would make me laugh. So like the door would swing open, and then you hear, so it wasn't really Charles Manson that killed the people, it was the other, and then the door would close again. I'd be like, it's going really badly in there.
Yeah, it's funnier in fragments almost
And
than
then-
if you just.
And you have to stay afterwards and get your money too. So afterwards, they're like, so remember that $100 we're supposed to get? And he's like, yeah. And so
So if you break the rules though, have you ever had anyone like not pay you because they were like, well, you said fuck?
I've never really had rules like that. Like that was really the
I
first
can
time.
I can recall a time. I did a show at an old folks home, and we
I
already
think
talked about
we
that.
talked
I think.
about that because I was gonna say, I was like, that story almost sounds kind of familiar. I thought you had a story about an old folks home.
How'd you get booked on an old folks thing? I remember you talked about, it, but I kind of forgot the
I
details.
don't remember, but I got there, and I went into it with the wrong mindset, which was not I was less professional than I am now, which is also not very professional. But I was like, well, let's make me enjoy this as much as possible, because there's no possible way. Because sometimes in stand-up, you're faced with something that's just so doesn't make any sense, and you're just like, you just ask like, how the fuck did I get here? How did this happen?
Yeah.
And these people were old. I don't mean like 65, like playing shuffleboard, whatever. They were old.
like 80, like they weren't moving.
they were gonna die. They were all gonna die. They're probably all dead now. That was like 2 years ago. And
They're probably all dead.
They're for sure all
Like
dead.
it's not like it's like hospice where you like literally go there almost to die.
Yeah. And I brought up about how if I were them, I'd be selling my medication to teenagers and doing whatever. And afterwards, someone came up and was like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And they said they were like, "Let me guess. You were just doing your little jokes to make the comedians in the back laugh." That's not. And in my head, I was like, "You're very observational because that is exactly what I was doing."
Yeah. What do you say?
Oh, I was thinking of another. I did a very. I got asked to do a radio show in Alpharetta, and they were like, "There's going to be like 1,000 people there," and I was like, "Okay, well,
A live radio show?
I don't know. Or no. It was an event to sponsor a radio show or whatever." And then I get there, and it was like a very conservative radio show. And I don't ever talk about politics in stand-up anyway, but these people did not look like they were ready to hear it either way. Like I found out the motto for the conservative radio thing was "Don't believe everything they tell you." That's like what it said. And these people are just so mad. Like they're just angrily eating hot dogs, like supposed to be enjoying it or whatever. And
So it was like an InfoWars radio station almost or something like that?
I wish it was InfoWars.
Was there really 1,000 people there though?
No, there were maybe 200 people. And it was outside. The gig was outside, which comedy should almost never be outside. There's just also because there's no acoustics. Your voice just escapes out into nowhere and you can't make a connection.
Neighbors can hear. That's always my
Neighbors can hear. And then the...
What is that about it? Like you need like a low ceiling kind of like...
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Makes it way more it changes the
You
whole
want the
mood.
audience to feel like it's a secret almost. That's the best way. They want to be like, "Ooh, we're here at this cool thing," and that's what you want people
Like
to
oddly,
think.
a basement would be like the best place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Comedy Cellar is a basement.
Yeah,
Literally.
yeah.
But anyway, so the stage I was performing on was it was a house, and it had a little upper deck area.
Oh,
so I had to climb up the stairs, and they go, "Will Foskey," and I'm climbing up the stairs. The applause has died out before I'm even halfway up the stairs. So I get there, and I'm on a deck. I'm on a deck now, talking down at them.
Oh God.
And my first thought was that I felt like Hitler, but I didn't want to say that because people always are calling Republicans Nazis, and I thought for sure they got guns on them, and this could be really bad if they think that that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And but I still brought it up, and
Did it get some laughs?
yeah, it kind of did, because I was saying nobody good throughout history has ever delivered a speech from a balcony. That's just not where good news comes from. Because I started talking about, I was like, Hitler and Mussolini. I was like, the Pope, and I was like, you know what? I'm not saying the word molested loud on a speaker for people to hear.
Yeah.
And at one point they clapped, and I was like, who are you guys clapping for? And they were like Karen, and I said, who? And then everyone started booing me. Apparently Karen's the boss of whatever radio station this is. And they're like, you don't even know this radio station? And I just was honest. I was like, no, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
They're all like huge fans of the station. They all came out. That's amazing.
And then
You don't know Karen? That's like the widest sentence ever.
And then a hot girl from my high school's dad was there.
Hell yeah, dude.
And was not feeling it, and for some reason that really bothered me.
Like you might tell her or something.
I guess not that I would have a chance anyway, or that I even cared, but it was just for some reason it really upset me.
I had to do stand up too on a back porch, so like a backyard and there's a back porch, and instead of they're fine people, it was a good show. But like when they introduce you, it's not like you walk behind curtains or anything. You just open a slidey door and walk outside. Something about the slidey door really made me feel like
You
a
had
piece
to close
of
it behind you
Yes.
like a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, and it has that little tiny thing where it's kind of hard to get all your fingers in it. Yeah. Why do they? People
Like a
who make
curtain,
sliding
like,
doors
closes behind
just put a
you.
handle on it.
Yeah.
It's probably costs like $2.
Because I asked them, I was like, can I just walk up from the backyard onto the porch? They're like, it's either slidey door or nothing, dude. So I was like, okay.
What?
Because for continuity, I wasn't
That
the
was
first
their
comic
motto.
up. Yeah, it was the slogan of the show. It was his catchphrase. Yeah, and then so he was like, no, you gotta do the slidey door. I was like, all right, fuck.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think with the bringing onto the stage, like there's so many different weird ways you can come onto a stage, and coming out of a slidey door might be one of the worst of them.
It's awkward because sometimes you got to mess with it a little.
Yeah.
At least that didn't happen.
Got to jiggle the handle. Yep.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, you never want people to say too much. The best intro is just funny guy, Khaled Elchoufi, boom. You walk out.
Do you feel like the opening is like the hardest to get people? Like you got
It's the most like the first laugh.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, if you
like
don't get the first laugh, it does put a little. Oh, the intro.
Yeah, like coming up on stage, like I feel like a lot of comedians do something. It's like, they come on, and they're like, "Hey guys, what's going on? I've been masturbating a lot recently," or something. That's like the intro.
Yeah.
Like, how do you like
That's
get
kind of
that?
funny.
That's the most nerve-wracking part of it is to like get the first laugh, because if the first thing you say doesn't get a laugh that was supposed to get a laugh, there's a lot of doom and gloom you feel on the inside where you're like, oh, like.
And the room gets the vibe that they were supposed to laugh, but they didn't too. So
yeah, and the psychology of it is very like, so if you get a laugh immediately when you're supposed to, the crowd will go, "Oh, we trust you. You are funny in the times where you're supposed to be funny." So then the next thing you say, they're like, "Oh, what's it gonna be?" But if you don't get that first laugh, they're like, "All right, what is it gonna? All right, let's see if this one fucking bombs. I'm in control and I decide now."
And something some comedians are good at doing is that if the joke doesn't land, they just like talk through the bomb. So they almost just talk through everything, like they don't acknowledge what's happening, and then I'm very bad at that. When the laugh that was supposed to happen doesn't happen, you can see it on my face and stuff. So some comedians, I will say, are good at just like talking through a bomb, but that's not necessarily a great talent either.
Yeah, because you're almost like half expecting it, sort of.
Yeah, and then people know that you suck still.
Because they're not laughing.
It's just not as obvious.
No, it's a TED Talk instead of a comedy
Yeah,
skit.
Exactly.
They're just sitting
but like
there.
a TED Talk about your dick, though. Like, it's not even on a good topic.
The shittiest TEDx of all time.
Right, yeah,
Independently organized.
Get a little fucking earpiece. Like, my fucking cock.
It's amazing. Yeah. So when did you guys start doing your podcast? So obviously the friend crush turned into an actual friendship.
Yeah, it worked out.
When did that start to happen?
And it puts me firmly in the power position because I know he needs this more than I do. I'm just kidding. I actually need it more than he does. But anyway,
about a year ago or more.
Yeah, probably about a year and a half ago. Then we took like a 3-month hiatus, but we regrouped, we rebranded.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now we're available to watch on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah. First we didn't have the video component, and then I think I like the video too.
There's ups and downs. Like I felt like we were more willing to say more fucked up shit when we're not being filmed.
No, it's true.
Because it's like you were prank calling somebody like, yeah.
But then the fun part about the video though is like when we make little clips, like we edit the shit.
Yeah.
But it's really Will doing all the editing, but I'm there to watch, and like they have like the little fun, like the little things you can do with editing is fun, like the pictures you can put in, the fucking noises you can put in. Like there's little other ways that you can make it funny too. So
yeah, and you
that
can
part's
make
real
something
fun.
good look bad. Like I had a friend, and he asked me to upload a stand-up set for him. And what I would, just as a goof, I would, because I live with comedians, and so I would just put a little after all of his jokes, and they're amazing jokes, and they were killing. But for some reason, just a little, you can immediately just deflate it. Like, oh man,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now you guys are on video. You're back for season 2.
Season 2, yeah. And we're better than ever. And I think it's a good sign because we were going a little off the rails with the audio format. And because now when we're on video, we're like, all right, let's try to cap how fucked up we're being so we still have a shot of being professional comedians.
Yeah.
One
And
day.
the funniest thing, so like the channel is called OAS Podcast. Stands for opinions and shit, but there's another OAS podcast for Oriental Art Supply. so
How the fuck do they have a podcast?
I don't know. So if you click on a video,
It's just like, I don't know.
and you see Asians weaving shit, that's not me and Will.
Yeah, no.
That's a different one.
Yeah, we're going to get into a branding war with them, which honestly, I'm down.
We get sued.
That'll be the crossover of the
No,
century.
the best fucking crossover would be if they became a sponsor of your podcast.
Oh my god, yeah.
Hey, we're open to it.
These sewing needles are amazing. Yeah, we have to do little advertisements for them.
You thought OAS podcast stood for opinions and shit, but actually, that's
Oriental
amazing.
Art Supply.
I thought you're not even supposed to say Oriental anymore, but they're saying it's.
Well, if it
Maybe-
refers to a location, I think it's okay.
Yeah, maybe when you're referring to
to
a
a
person,
person.
it's kind of fucked up.
I see.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense though, because Oriental still means the same thing.
Yeah, Oriental Rug.
Like, and
shit.
also like the freaking Munchkin cat. If you call him a Munchkin cat or a midget cat, I don't think anyone's getting mad about that because he's a cat. Or if you call him a dwarf cat or whatever, but he's
Yeah.
if you call a person a Munchkin, that's
That almost is worse than midget.
yeah, it
Oh, yeah, I
almost
think
is
it
because
is,
it's a little
too.
bit like humorous, like Munchkin.
And then
Yeah.
and then dwarf sounds to me mystical.
Yeah, totally. It's almost like the same as saying like fucking Mr. Tumnus or something. Like,
yeah.
like what is he? He's like a half horse, half human. What is that called? A centaur or something?
Centaur, yeah.
It's like a dwarf or a centaur or some shit.
Yeah.
It's almost the same word as elf.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm totally. I like little people. I think that's fine. But then it's like, then there's some people that are just like statistically based on the laws, like they're technically a little person, but they don't have any sort of like mutation. They're just like
They were just
super
trying to get
short.
their bagels, bro.
Yeah.
And now
Oh,
everybody's
the bagel boss.
Yes,
Oh, dude.
They were definitely trying to get their bagels.
so
He-
sad.
If
We got to
anyone-
remove that stigma so we don't have people like that going around terrorizing
Okay,
everyone.
so
I
let's
know.
give some backstory on the Bagel Boss video. So,
Yeah.
so if people don't know, honestly, you could probably just search in on YouTube "Bagel Boss Man" or something. Or
If
Bagel
you
Boss.
put bagel, it's probably the first thing that's gonna come up.
Totally. So this guy, like this girl on Twitter, is just taking a video because this dude in Bagel Boss is apparently like harassing women, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
wh-
Well, no. So they, from what I understand, so he's a short man with a temper, which is undeniably funny. There's nothing
course.
funny than a really short person that has got a temper. And then so the
And he's got the thickest accent.
he,
too. He's
he
like,
sounds real Long Island.
boss, Bagel Boss, like that's how you would say it.
And the fucking the lady, the cashier, I guess, like started laughing at him, like she smirked or whatever. And so he threw a fucking fit. And then he was trying to fight everybody, and then that got shut down real quick because the guy just toppled over him. And as funny as that video is, my favorite part of it was his interview with the news. Because he was talking about, he's like, yeah, I got this fucking scar on my neck because a guy tackled me. And they're like, we got another scar on his leg. He goes, oh, that's from a bat when I was taking my anger out on the trees.
What the fuck?
He took a bat into a forest and starts hitting trees. He's like, I'm not fucking short. And then it bounced off and hit his fucking shin. And he was just like, I've had enough. I fucking love that guy.
Dude, the best part is apparently they found his YouTube channel too, where did you hear about this?
No.
So he has a YouTube channel as well where he films people that are like one of the videos is called like "Ghetto Bitch Cuts Me in Line,"
Oh,
and he's
no.
like this. You see this fucking whore? She
no.
just cut me in fucking line. She thinks that she's better than me. She walked right in front of me in line at Target, and she's cut right in front of me. She's like, I didn't do nothing, blah blah blah. And she has like her kid with her and shit.
Oh
and
my God.
He's just like looking for a fight everywhere it
course.
goes. It
Oh
seems
my
because it's
God,
like when
yeah.
you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. When you're a short guy, you think that, you think all women hate you or something.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. And yeah, it didn't take long of watching that video to be like, no, this is you. This is absolutely about you and your problems.
Yeah, well, because the funniest thing that he said in the video is he's like, all of them on dating sites, they say go fucking die or something like that.
He
Like
did.
he brings up the fact that all women are pieces of shit because on
Yeah.
dating sites they call him trash because he's short.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, maybe dating sites isn't the move. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta like for again. I bring up Richard all the time because he's one of my best friends in the wheelchair. But it's like we bring it up. It's like if you're in a wheelchair, like Tinder might not be the best move because it's like right off the bat you're getting swiped left because there's a very obvious thing about you that people are like, that's a red flag.
And they can do it privately because
Exactly.
people act like they care more than they do.
Yeah.
Because if they see, they'll be like, oh no, but in private they can be like, seems like a lot. It seems limiting.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, exactly.
Or whatever you were saying
No, it's
earlier.
totally it seems
Yeah,
limiting.
I always wonder what the time frame.
My options will be limited.
Like,
dude,
if
what-
he had. Oh, what?
I'm actually kind of curious. What does he do?
For a living or like
No, for women.
Oh, he has a girl. He has a totally able-bodied, cool girlfriend, like totally normal.
He does?
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
What was he all angry about?
He's not angry.
The wheelchair
Bagel-
guy's not angry.
Oh, the wheelchair guy.
No, the 5-foot
I thought you
guy.
were talking about Bagel Boss.
guy.
No,
sorry.
Richard sounds cool
We're
as
talking
fuck.
about Richard right now. Richard's
Oh,
cool as
okay.
fuck. He's been on my podcast a few times, and I actually am the co-host of his podcast that he has under Patreon. You pay $1 and you can listen to it anyways.
Okay.
But his whole premise with the wheelchair channel, he has a wheelchair YouTube channel where he like empowers people that are like newly injured to be like, yo, your life's not over and shit. Like just because you're in a wheelchair now, you can still have like a normal life.
So something happened to him?
Yeah, he had an accident like 9 years ago, and now he's in a wheelchair. He has a spinal cord injury.
Damn.
And basically like, you know, his whole premise is like, just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't mean like, you know, your life's over.
Yeah.
You just
That's
use a
fucking
wheelchair
cool.
to get around. Yeah. So, anyways, I always plug him all the time on the podcast, but he's the shit. But it's the same kind of deal. It's like if you have a very outward, you know, thing about you, like if you're super short, if you know maybe a dating site where it's as trivial as looking at a few pictures and a short bio, like you should probably be meeting people in real life. But if you're an asshole, you're not gonna really you're not gonna meet anyone
You
that's.
should do speed.
I
Is
feel
it-
like
they still
people.
do
I feel like
speed
people
dating?
might
You should
want
do
to bang
speed
him
dating.
now just for the novelty of it. They're
Yeah.
like, you're the bagel guy.
Yeah, dude, this actually probably help him get
What if
laid.
he had a massive dick? Like
Oh,
that'd
yeah,
be
right?
amazing.
I'm gonna
You
go
gotta
ahead
believe
and
that he
say
doesn't.
probably not.
probably doesn't have a
Probably
massive
not.
You gotta believe that he doesn't, just based on his anger.
And if he does, that's fucked up because that's not cool to just have a huge dick and know that about yourself and then just go out into the world and still harass people.
No, yeah.
That doesn't make any
You're
sense.
not utilizing your big dick energy properly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, the dick is probably proportional to his size.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
You
but-
can have a big dick, but that doesn't mean you have to be one.
Oh, Will, shut the fuck up.
Ding, ding, ding. Like the more you know.
Yeah, that's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We do this on the podcast sometimes, that little thing that just happened.
I like that. Talking to the camera with an inspirational moment.
Well, Will has good look in the camera face and voice.
You do have like a really nice voice, man.
Oh, thank you.
It's-
Thank you.
It's one of those things where like either people hear it and they're just like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like, but there is something about the fake voice too, like the newscaster, like, all right, Karen, we're gonna be like.
Yeah, I never understood that.
His is more like warning professionals, do not try this at home voice. Like those people, you know?
Like the
true.
beginning of Jackass
Yeah,
or
Viva La
whatever.
Bam is filmed by the... Yeah.
You could have been the guy for Viva La Bam.
Oh, what a gig
Well,
that
I could have,
been.
except for that I was 8 at the time and did not sound like this.
Can we
He'd be
talk
like, dude, who the hell's this little kid? Get him the hell out of here. And I'd just be like, he's so mean to me.
I love fucking
Can we
Viva.
talk about the fucking inside, like the joke you have about Bam? About it, you like the way that he says ass, right?
Ass? Yeah. It's the greatest thing of all time. It is amazing. I feel bad for him now because it seems like he's fucking going the fuck through it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't deserve to because he is a hero to many, myself being one of them. Bam was a fucking millionaire when he was 18 years old.
And he had a tramp stamp above his dick.
He did
That's
with the
pretty
him
cool.
logo.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he kind of like corroborated that logo. So is that the right word? Like he kind of like made it his own almost.
He
like,
did.
Nobody knew
weirdly.
who the fuck him was except for Slovenia, where the fuck they're from.
Yeah.
Finland.
Finland.
On the,
excuse me.
on the,
Same
on the,
shit.
on
Somewhere over
the
there.
on the Ryan Dunn documentary, they were talking about it. One of the dudes from Big Brother magazine or whatever was just like, yeah, you know, Bam was always really cool. I never knew why the fuck he liked him so fucking much. His band fucking sucked or whatever. I think they all made fun of him for it. But it's objectively, it's a very cool logo.
Yeah, it
The
is
heartogram?
actually. Yeah, it actually like I think that's one of the reasons why him even like became a thing was Bam.
And
always-
the skateboards, dude.
I was
Yeah,
always
that's
wondered if
true.
it was okay to be all like rest in peace Don Vito, because I'm a fan,
Yeah.
but he also groped children, so it's like
Yeah. That's all. That's kind of like the whole Bill Cosby thing, right?
he
It's
was
like,
so good
can
in the
you
show.
separate
No, no,
the
no, 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 no.
shitty-
Bill Cosby is 1,000 times worse than what Don Vito did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah.
yeah, I
That's
know
true.
what you
that's
mean.
true. But like, can you separate the like all the good
The art
shit from
from
the
the
bad?
artist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Art. I don't know if you could call what Don Vito did art, but
oh, he
maybe.
was so funny though.
To
Like
Delaware Ocean. Go get him the hell out of here. It's the best.
Get him the hell out of here.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If, for people that didn't watch Viva La Bam, like I suggest you go on YouTube and go watch some clips because that show was
Oh, it was
amazing.
amazing.
It was a really solid reality show.
It was like a shitty version of like Fantasy Factory kind of where he just had this like dope mansion and would like prank his family all the time.
It was great.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be like him, and it was cool because like I just blanked for a second. No, it was fucking awesome because he fucking made all of that shit just from skateboarding, and then he made a reality show kind of before they got really big, like before Flavor of Love and all that kind of
Before
stuff.
the Kardashians, even.
Yeah.
And it's nice because it's what you want in a reality show because there's a little bit of there's no shade really. This was before shade. There was no shade. It was just them slapping each other in the face.
Yeah.
Like there was never any like, can you believe what Deco said about Rab himself? Like there was never any of that. At least I don't think. If there was, they didn't put it on the show.
The only asides they had were just pretty much just like, Don Vito's in the bathroom and I'm gonna go slap his ass.
Yeah. It always involved somebody not knowing what was about to happen.
Yeah.
We got all this flour and we're gonna go antique them. When the teeth get close together, that's when you know the prank is coming.
That's amazing. So you started doing an impression of Bam on your like Instagram and stuff, right? Or how did this joke perpetuate?
I did that for a little while, and then one time I did it on stage. You want to talk about bombing?
Yeah. Halloween on Star
It was a
Bar?
Halloween show, and Star Bar and Little 5 Points, which is like the ultimate fucking show everybody wants to do. And so I dressed up like Bam, and I got someone to put on makeup, and they did a bad job. I looked like a creepy, weird clown, and I had to get it like fixed back to normal. And I went up there, and I did a set as Bam because Star Bar is in the heart of Little 5 Points. There's a lot of skateboarders who are all in their like late 20s-ish. And I was like, that seems like they would all know Viva La Bam. And it did good for about 1 minute. And what I should have done is, all right, anyway. But I stuck with it. I continued to do the rest of the set as Bam.
Yeah.
And I just fucking sat in it. And bombing sucks, but bombing in a costume while also trying to remember stuff about Bam and be like, okay, I know I remember that, but are they gonna know it? And like figure out how to,
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
That was a
amazing.
fun Bond to watch. At one point, you said, "I'm sitting in it," as
That's right.
Bam Margera. Yeah, it was awesome. I enjoyed watching it tremendously.
That's amazing. Yeah, I feel like when you put on a costume too, it like adds insult to injury. Like it's kind of like you're sitting there and you look. Not only do you feel foolish, but you look foolish.
Well,
too.
and then the worst was at the end. I got a lifeline because my roommate came up and was gonna have me slap him. But I just slapped him how he would slap Phil. I wasn't about to. He wanted me to slap him hard in the face, but we didn't communicate that. And afterwards, he's like, "You could have slapped me as hard as you wanted in the face." I was like, "Wouldn't that would have been fucked up of me to assume that I could have done that?"
Yeah.
And then afterwards, the host was like, "Dude, he gave you an out, and you just fiddle faddled." And then everybody just laughed really hard at that. And then I went home feeling really sad and have not done the impression very much since. But also, he's more popular now. No one, there wasn't this Instagram emergence of him.
But also, you guys got a cameo. You said that at the beginning. So someone gave you a
my friend James for my birthday. He just was like, "Happy birthday, bro!" And it's a video of fucking Bam just saying with Will and Khaled. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
with Will and Khaled. That's amazing.
It's pretty cool. That cameo shit is crazy. And because Bam cared, he seemed like he legitimately thought the name Opinions and shit was kind of funny. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a
kinda-
grin on him. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the intro to your podcast. Just the intro though. Once you guys started talking, I fucking
Hey,
turned
dude.
that shit off.
No offense taken.
No, I really enjoyed the first episode of the new video podcast. I liked
thanks,
it a
bro.
lot. But on Cameo though, I remember Chris D'Elia was talking about this on his podcast recently about how like some of them are just so insultingly low. Like you can book some of these people that it's like, oh man, he really fell off. He's listing his Cameo for like $15.
Oh yeah.
Like you can get him to say whatever the fuck you want for $15. Like,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah, and then like the funniest though is like somebody told me that Brett Favre has one. And like so Bam again was like he did like the rock and roll and it was enough. I felt like I think it was $60 for Bam. And again it was a gift, but I would have paid $60 for that and been like, I feel validated in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But for Brett Favre, it's like him doing it's like $250, and then the video is like him doing something else and being like, "Happy birthday, Carol," whatever. And just like does whatever.
Like his assistant is like, you got a new Cameo, Brett.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, fucking Jesus,
The funny thing is like
ironing my jeans.
when you said Brett Favre, for whatever reason, my brain went to Brett Michaels.
Brett Michaels, I bet, is doing them.
That's why, because I thought, I'm like, oh, if anyone's doing cameo, I bet Bret Michaels is. I bet Dog the Bounty Hunter has a fucking cameo.
Yeah, maybe not now because his wife's dead, so he has to mourn for a little bit.
Was it recent? Like, are we being insensitive? Is this like a week ago?
Oh yeah, it was very recent.
I feel like when bounty hunting is your life's career, you know how to take a joke.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I don't know. I forgot. I don't know what the fuck she died from, but it sounds like it was kind of on her because.
Okay, well maybe now we might be.
Well, no, because I was reading the report on Dog the Bounty Hunter's wife's death. Beth, that's her name.
Beth, thank you.
Yeah,
Beth the Bounty Hunter.
They said that
Mr. and Mrs. the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
she wasn't accepting treatment, so she just starts tearing out fucking tubes and shit out her arm.
Dude.
I was like, well, that's no way to fucking be at the doctors, you know?
Oh yeah, that's weird.
So-
Yeah, you know what's a weird one too? I remember when I was younger, one of my this is kind of fucked up again, but we're talking about death, so whatever. We're already off the rails.
That's
cool.
I remember it was like one of my dad's friends or something like that was like Jehovah's Witness or something like that. And one of their things is they can't accept blood transfusions. And so this guy, he had like cancer, but he couldn't. It was like against their religion to like go into surgery because they would have needed to give him other people's blood. And I was like, dude, that's so crazy. That
Was he awake to make the decision, or did he?
It wasn't like one of those things. It was like, yo, you've got cancer, like you need to have this surgery, and like he was like, it's
no.
against my religion, and he died. But
I
it was
respect
like
that.
Yeah, but it was like kind of crazy because I remember as a kid like being like, damn.
I kind of do too, but that would make me atheist. I'd be like, all right, well, fuck that. I want the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah,
that's a weird one, right?
but I
'Cause it's
kind of
like
do respect that too. Like the fucking you
die
really
on your
walk the
sword
walk.
kind of thing. Yeah.
My mom had a friend, and this is like the weird line that he drew for where he's like, I'm gonna die if that thing happens to me. So he got cancer, and they're like, well, you can survive it. We just have to cut out a piece of your colon, and then you're gonna have to have a shit bag. What's a shit bag called? Colostomy bag.
Yeah, colostomy bag.
You have to have a colostomy bag. He's like, I'm not doing that. They're like, what do you mean you're not doing that?
I don't want to carry a bag with shit all
Like this Vietnam vet type of dude, and he's like, I'm just gonna die instead. And they're like, all right. And then like but I mean, I would have gone shit bag. I would have gone colostomy bag.
I would have gone shit bag. Yeah.
That's not the word, you know. But that was enough for him, and then he stuck with it, and then it spread, and he died. But
Yeah.
I mean, I like kind of respected it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's. Yeah, was he old or was he like?
He was older, but like he wasn't that type of old where your back does that thing and you're like, oh, like he wasn't that old. Like
Yeah.
he looked like John Madden old.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Do you guys? I heard this premise the other
White
day.
hair.
Someone said something about like there's no actual thing of dying of old age because there's got to be like that one final thing that like the straw that broke the camel's back. Sort of.
True.
Do you guys think that that's like? Because I
yeah,
feel like at one point,
there's things that come with old age. Yeah, I guess so.
I used to. My mom made me volunteer in an old people's home in middle school, which is. It's the most depressing place ever. And then you'd go there and they'd be like, oh, fucking like Carl died. And you're like, well, yeah, no shit. Like they're all fucking.
he wasn't he's not at lunch today.
Dude,
so
80 was young for that place. It
Damn.
was, and I remember they had this. They're like, we have level 1 and level 2 patients, and level 1 means you're fucked up, and then level 2 means you're really fucked up. Like all of them are fucked up. There was one lady, dude. They should have cast her in a fucking horror movie. She was she was sitting in the middle of an empty hallway and just clap her hands, but there's nothing that should be applauded. It's just a bunch of old people. So she just clap her hands, and they're like, be careful when you walk past her, because she'll just fucking like grab you like suddenly.
dude,
I know. The one time she did it to me.
yo, you want to know something? Wait, she grabbed you?
Yes.
Did she like? Did it hurt?
Yeah, no, it'd be weird if she's like, it was like a deathly grip. No, it was a
She
weak
was
grip.
weak.
But then you just turn around, you just see like this smiling old woman, and I can't describe how she was. Maybe around 100. The weirdest story. One quick thing. The weirdest story about this is that they had to play bingo, but they couldn't use letters because a lot of them were illiterate. And there's this lady, so it was horse bingo. So they're like, put it on the brown one. They're like, all right. And one
Wait, what's horse bingo?
it's pictures of horses.
What? Put it on the brown, and I got you.
And then once it makes a row,
I see.
you yell out horse or whatever. And then I remember this horse bingo.
They're also playing horse, like basketball horse.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, they were amazing,
while they're
yeah.
playing bingo.
In the paint, they were fucking killer, yeah.
Yeah.
They had this one fucking lady, her name is Miss Chad. I remember because I was like, that's a fucking weird name. And they're like, you gotta help her with the horse bingo because she'll eat the pieces. So I was like, that's funny. They're like, no, for real. And so this fucking old lady was just, she would try to, I thought maybe she'll try to eat it, maybe she won't, but she actually tried to eat like every single one. So like, and the way she would do it, she moved so slow, so she would like ease her hand in and then like grab the piece and then like slowly, and I was like, Miss Chad, don't eat it. But she was like still going for it, so I would just literally take it out of her hand. And then she would grin. As soon as I take it out, she'd be like, and I'd be like, what the fuck is
She's
this
like,
place?
I knew I wasn't supposed to. I'm trying to die.
But yeah, they're just so old at that point. Like her, I don't even know what her brain is saying.
Yeah, dude. So I think I'm prepared to tell this story because I don't think I've told this story on the podcast before.
Please.
But this is the story of. I'm gonna try to wrap this up as much as I can. Not the podcast, but this story because it's kind of a long story.
That's fine.
But this is like the weirdest and worst night of my life.
Okay.
And it involves being in a hurricane shelter, but not for the reasons that you'd expect that it's bad. So
Okay.
So my grandpa, he passed away like last year. And this story involves my grandpa and also involves my grandma, but my grandma will never hear this podcast. So if anyone listening knows my grandma, please don't tell her I told this story on the podcast.
Yeah.
Anyways, so me and my dad, we drive down to Florida during, it was like 2 years ago, whenever that really bad hurricane was coming for Florida.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
And we drove down to Florida because my grandparents lived in Florida and they were old. They couldn't make the drive like up to Georgia because a lot of people were evacuating. So we're like, we're going to go down there and make sure they're safe. And they lived in this neighborhood where like, the houses are like not mobile homes, but they're the ones that are like basically trailers, and then they take the wheels off. And
double
then it's
wide.
Like, yeah, like a double wide.
Oh, I got you.
But they're nice. Like it wasn't like a
Yeah.
shitty home, but like in Florida, there's just a ton of those places.
Even
Yeah.
if they weren't nice, we weren't about to judge you. We weren't going to be like, yeah, you have to get his fucking
I
poor
remember
grandma.
like my grandma was always like, it's not a trailer. Like if we said some shit like that, like whatever. So anyways. But that night, so we go to this hurricane shelter. My grandpa, he can't really walk very well. He's really overweight, all this stuff. He's having a bunch of health problems. And so the hurricane was going to hit like the next night, but they knew that like it was going to come. So they were opening the hurricane shelters the day before, so you could kind of like save your spot almost and like, get situated and get prepared. So the thing is, my grandpa, he was in a wheelchair. They had a wheelchair for him, but it was like a kind of shitty wheelchair. It's not a comfortable place to be sitting for like multiple days at a time. At home, he had like a lazy boy where he could like recline and shit. So we brought him over the day before, and by the night of the actual hurricane happening, like it's pretty nuts. Like, they were serving us like cafeteria food. And by the way, it was an elementary school is where this hurricane shelter was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a nuclear fallout shelter.
Yeah, okay.
So it was an elementary school, and we were in the art room, okay? So just to paint you this picture, we're in an art room, and there's all these...
Sorry.
So we're in an art room, and there's all these like air mattresses and random families, and it's in Florida, right? So there's a lot of old people in this room, and it smells weird and all this stuff. So we're in it, and like it starts to get dark and all the shit, and my grandpa starts like hallucinating. Like he starts seeing shit that's not there, and this wasn't like super uncommon for him, but it started getting really bad because I think it was on top of being in a strange environment. He'd been sitting in this wheelchair for like a day almost, basically.
Oh,
he wasn't sleeping. We like gave him food, and he like slapped it out of my grandma's hand and like laughed and shit. Like it was very uncharacteristic of him. But it was
hit
like
level 2.
he hit level 2 to say the least, dog.
Okay.
So so this was crazy.
Shit.
So then he's like, it was actually really intimidating. It was very scary because he's like, I want out of here. I want to get out. And we're like, Grandpa, there's like a hurricane outside. Like we literally cannot leave. Yeah. Like there's no way to leave. Like it was like they wouldn't let us out of the doors. Like they locked the doors. And not only that, there's literally a hurricane happening outside. I want to get out of blah, blah. And he was freaking out. So then he starts, every time he would start to get out of his wheelchair. Because his legs would work, but he would basically just fall over if he took a few steps.
Yeah.
And he was really fat. So like he would get up, and and then it became this game of like, Grandpa, you got to sit down. And he like had some sort of weird game in his head where we were trying to get him to sit down, but he knew that he really needed to get up.
Oh yeah.
And so then he started being like, I know this game, and we'd be like, Grandpa, you need to sit down. He's like, I don't need to sit down, and like it was so fucked up, bro. Like It was so strange. And then the weird thing is my grandpa's legs weren't that strong, right? But if he was like laying, like his legs were strong enough to support his overweight body, so that as a leg, it was pretty strong.
Yeah.
In proportion to his body, it wasn't strong. So he could fucking kick you. So he was trying to like fucking kick us and shit. And like if he kicked you, it hurt because his legs were like strong enough, but not strong at the same time. So anyways, long story short, throughout the night, we had to get the police that were there to come in. It was like a fucking SWAT thing almost. Like they were like, they storm in. So we were like, I was like, my grandpa, we have a situation, come on. Like, cause they were like at the front of the school and we were like, I'll take you to the art room and all the lights are off. We're all using flashlights and shit. It's fucked. And my grandpa got to the point where he literally took all of his clothes off. And we eventually had to drag him on a deflated air mattress into the like cafeteria area where they had evacuated it because of like a little bit of flooding. So he was sitting in a soaking wet air mattress, hallucinating for the rest of the night while like we had to like try to console him.
Oh my God.
But the funniest part was that we figured out that we could like play his game with him. So he was like calling for my grandma. He'd be like, Marilyn, get over here. Her name's Marilyn. And he thought that the police were like, the sheriff came over and he's like, I'm gonna call the sheriff. And he goes, oh, actually, I am the sheriff. He goes, you couldn't spell sheriff if you tried, or some shit like that. Like he was still quick-witted, but he was like hallucinating and shit.
Holy shit.
Anyway,
and spelling is a big requirement of working for the police department.
Yeah. And then eventually he's like, well, the sheriff is compromised. Call the pastor. Like he said some
the
shit like that.
sheriff is compromised?
Yeah, dude. He thought
so it's like a character game in a way.
Yeah,
Call the pastor. He's just getting all these like board game murder suspects to fucking come in and.
So it ends up like we're like, Grandpa, you just need to sleep. Like just go to sleep. And he was like, says who? Like he was just arguing with everybody. So then eventually we got another police officer to come in and pretend to be a doctor. And apparently on General Hospital, it's like an old TV show, there's like some doctor named like General Quartermain or something like that.
Yeah.
And this guy comes in, and he's like, and my dad was like, try to pretend to be like a doctor and see if he'll listen to you, because he tends to listen to doctors. And so he comes in and he's like, I'm the doctor. And he's like, what's your name? He's like, Dr. Quartermain. And he's like, oh, hello, Dr. Quartermain. And my dad was like trying not to laugh. And I didn't know why.
Oh, man.
But then he's like, oh, you know what I need to he's like, I'm in a lot of pain. And he's like, well, you know what I prescribe is a bunch of rest. You just need to get right to sleep. And he's like, okay, doctor. Did you hear about all the craziness going on with the sheriff and all this? And he's like, yes, we're handling it right now. And literally, it was the sheriff like doing this thing.
Oh my God.
But he was pretending to be the doctor. He couldn't really see because it was all dark in there. But anyways, again, trying to make it short. But once the doctor left, we started hearing him just say random shit. And like one of the things he said was like they had this old dog named Mindy that had died like 10 years before. He's like, oh, I see Mindy. And he goes, she's licking my finger. And we see him like literally like picking up an invisible dog. And we were all like, no.
Oh, man.
It was so fucked. But it was like, honestly, me and my dad were like, this is the craziest night ever. And we've gone through so much like weird trauma with this whole thing.
Yeah.
This situation right now, at least he's calm, was the funniest shit
Yeah, you gotta
ever.
laugh.
We were cracking up laughing. And anyways, it ended up just being, and then like the next morning when the lights came on, he almost like we took him to the hospital and he acted like none of it had ever happened. But then he said one little weird thing where he's like, did that really something? Like he thought it was like a dream. And then we like made some reference to it and he was like, oh, I hope that wasn't real. Or some shit like that. And we were all like, oh, yikes. Because it was all real and he said some fucked up shit.
Wow.
Mindy.
Yeah.
That
So
is
anyways.
weird.
Yeah, so that was my story. I don't think I'd ever told that story on the podcast.
That is wild, man.
Yeah, so old people are crazy, man.
I wonder what was going on in his brain. It almost sounds like a bad trip on like DMT or something.
It does.
Dude, and that was the craziest thing was I felt so bad for him.
Maybe it was. Your body naturally creates.
And that's kind of like if you've ever
maybe he thought he was gonna die. Yeah.
like if you ever like did any sort of hallucinogen, like that panicking feeling that you can get, especially being like cramped in close quarters. He was probably going through that shit, like where you're just like, oh, what the fuck, like a bad trip.
Well, not only that, like have you know the whole like sensory deprivation tank thing, like
Oh,
where
yeah, I've
you
heard
don't
about
you
that.
can't see and shit. When you're in there, you start to like see shit. Almost kind of like if you close your eyes for long enough, you start to see almost some like patterns or weird things.
Yeah.
I think it was he was pretty blind, and then it was dark in the room because it was nighttime and the
Yeah.
power was out. So like he couldn't really see shit. So I'm sure he was seeing all kinds of random stuff.
damn.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. And one of the funniest things that happened though was like before the crazy night part. Oh yeah, and he tried to kick a lady. Like this lady was freaking out, was like saying that she would sue him if he kicked her again. It was honestly hilarious. But he had this watch that would talk to him, right? And it, like he pressed the button, and it's like it is 8:27 or whatever. And he looks at his wrist, and the watch is there, and he looks at his wrist and he goes, "That's not my watch." And I go, "Yeah, it is, Grandma." He goes, "My watch has a green button you can press and it talks to you." And I go, "Yeah, it's right here." And I press the button and it talks and it's like, "It is 6:37 or whatever." And he looks at it and he goes, "Jesus Christ." And then looks away. And we were just like, what? Like it was just,
Wow.
it was weird. He was like, there was the telltale signs of him losing his marbles, and then the rest of the night was just like nuts.
Yeah, my Nana's starting to go. She told me one time the new place she was staying at. So my aunt and uncle got a new place to have a little place for her to stay, and she really hated it. And it's a nice house, but I was like, "How are you liking the new place, Nana?" And she's like, "This place is my prison." I was like, "Oh shit."
Oh shit.
I wanted to laugh, but you can't just be like, "Man, that's crazy, Nana. Your life sucks."
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Dude, that was another thing my grandpa said when that night. He goes, "Get me out of this!" He goes, "Get me out of this hell!" And we were all like,
By the
"Oh,
way, you
fuck."
do an incredible old person.
Thank you,
I
thank
really
you.
wanted to comment on that.
That is
Thank
true.
you, thank you.
do a good
I've
one.
been known to do some good voices. One of my things when I was younger, I would always do a bunch of noises and voices for my family, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
was one of them. Was I would pretend to be an old person. So
Awesome.
I've been training for years.
Fuck yeah.
Did you ever have any crazy things like that at the nursing home that you worked at?
Not even fuck all that, dude. Just tell them about the family shit.
Oh, well, what family shit specific? I mean, there's so much. My family's weird. Like, they're all Arabs. And I grew up with all of them in the house.
Are they like super religious?
No, my family is all like, they have a weird religion. It's called Druze, Druze, and it's from like this really rural region.
I've heard of that.
Syria.
Is that, well, keep going, yeah.
Wait, yeah, it sounds like it's a few. I don't even know how many people actually do it, but the practice of it is so confusing that none of us ever did anything from it.
Yeah, because
you
I think
know?
my friend Remy that was on the podcast, I remember her saying something about how her mom was like, "You have to marry this guy and he has to be a Druze," and she's like, "You do understand that like I'm limited to like 5 guys in the Atlanta area.
Yeah,
Like, that's not gonna happen."
They have Druze conventions, and it's basically like they just like rent out like a fucking just a rec center, and it's all these Arabs that come in and just try to like shop their daughters off.
Oh god.
I know, it's such a fucking slimy ass motherfucker. That sounded really racist what I just said. But like when you go there, you literally see men with hair that looks slimy because they all have that. Arabs have this thing with fashion where they're kind of like 10 years behind on everything. So they
Yeah.
still dress like the Jersey Shore.
Like
you know?
popping collars and shit
Yeah,
like that.
collars, like they kind of have that. No, and then a lot of them are also New Jersey people.
Which is weird because like I think also that's almost like a business opportunity in a way, because you know that a lot of that is like kind of 10 years behind, so you can almost go 10 years back and be like, what kind of thing popped off, and you can almost like go and predict like what's gonna be popular. Or
Oh,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Like my friend's family's from Lebanon. And like they opened up the first water park in Lebanon. It's like they didn't invent the water park, but they just brought it to Lebanon and people freaked out or whatever, you know?
Oh yeah. They love that shit. They love like, yeah. The way my mom grew up was so different. But I guess like, I mean, one of the worst stories was so my grandma, she came to America, and then the way, and I've talked about this on stage a little bit, the way that she wipes her ass is like different. Like what she does, because over there
Did they spray it?
they don't have flushable toilets. Like my mom grew up like with an outhouse and all that shit.
Yeah.
And so what she does, my grandmother, is she gets a water pitcher and then pours
Dumps it down her back?
does about and on her ass and all that stuff. And she doesn't use toilet. They didn't even have toilet paper growing up, so they just used like washcloths.
Yeah.
And I guess there wasn't a washcloth. My mom was, I guess, under the assumption, she's like, we got toilet paper now. My grandmother's like, you can't teach the old dog new tricks type of situation.
So what do you do when she comes? You just give her a picture?
No, so we assume. Yeah, no, so she had the picture, but I assume that
is it BYOP?
And I was under the assumption that she was using the picture and then using the toilet paper. But instead, she used the towel that I had on a rack.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And so I don't know how long she had been doing it until I had finally noticed. And
like little skid marks?
Oh, no, a little worse than that, dude. I was drying off my face, of all places. And I smelled shit. And it smelled like shit more than it looked like shit. So the towel, it wasn't like it was covered in shit stains, but it did have a couple.
It had a distinct asshole smell.
Oh, yeah, but I was like, oh, my God, it smells like asshole.
It's like deep in the fibers.
Oh, man. That has the surface and everything. So, like, I ran downstairs and I told my mom because it's her mother.
Yeah.
And I was like, your mom, she wiped her ass with my towel. And she's like, well, what do you want me to do about it? And I was like, nothing? She's like, what am I going to go tell her to not, like, they have this hierarchy thing. You can't go up to, like, the matriarch or the family and be like, how about you don't wipe your ass with Khaled's towel? Like, there's all this respect and shit. But then eventually my aunt, my mom's sister...
You start putting your towel in your room or something?
Yeah, I just completely keep the towel on me at all times. And then, but my mom's sister that lives with us too, had enough of it. And she's more outspoken. And so she went up to my grandmother, and this is the whole conversation is in Arabic, and she was like, you got to stop wiping your ass with towels and shit. I mean, it's becoming a problem. Just use toilet paper. And my grandmother, she just like went silent and just went into her room. Like, it was like, what did we just do?
You just told her, like, you were going to kill her dog or something.
Yeah, I know. And then so we had, my aunt came back and she was like, well, that talk went terribly. And so my mom was like, well, we have to go say we're sorry. So we all just, like, marched in there and we're like, I'm sorry I wiped my face with your shit towel. Is that good enough? And it was like, I guess enough to make her happy.
I'm sorry I wiped my face with your shit towel.
Yeah. It was total victim blaming in this situation. But you got to do it to make the old lady happy.
I guess so.
Yeah, because it's not like, I guess, like with white people families, you can yell at your mom to get you Zaxby's or whatever, but you can't fucking...
Oh, you can't even fucking do that
The chain of
shit.
command is much more defined.
But it's weird because, I mean, she has a sharp mind, but sometimes, like, you catch her slipping. I remember one time, like, she just started getting naked in the living room. And she was... It was Christmas, so we had a tree. And she stood...
The details.
Remember, she stood behind the tree and just got naked. But we could clearly see her because she's... You could see through a Christmas tree. It wasn't that dense of a tree.
It wasn't a wall. It was a tree.
We hadn't even hung ornaments yet. So you could still see through the fucking leaves and shit.
Oh, no.
God dang it. She got completely naked?
Yeah, none of us said anything.
Paint us a better picture. I'm just kidding.
Surprisingly,
I'm really curious about the level of nudity.
Surprisingly held up well for, well, nobody knows her birthday, but we guessed 90.
Nobody knows her birthday.
Nobody knows her birthday, man.
Wow.
Arabs
Is it like a
don't
secret for her, or is she just like, they never kept it?
Yeah, Arabs don't care about birthdays. This like they grew up in this rural place, and what they would do when they had a baby or something, they would have to go to Damascus to register it.
Sounds like a Bible story or something.
I know. And so
They had to go to register the baby at the inn.
Yeah, but they were full, so they had to register it at the manger or something.
and there was no roads. So you would have to wait till like this fucking off-road bus would come around, and then they would just register all the babies at once. So they would get
So all the babies had the same birthday.
all the babies. So I always wonder, like, why is my whole family born on New Year's Day? I was like, we must be like lucky or something, or like magical people. And it's like, no, it's a baby registry.
The stork all came on New Year's Day.
The bus
That's
only
funny.
comes around. Yeah.
That's funny, man.
But they always had, but they always had interesting stories the way they grew up and shit. Because you have to make fun with things that you don't have a lot of fun shit to do. So you just have to find fun shit to do.
Yeah.
And so like you poop in an outhouse. So it's like, what else can we poop on that we can get a quick laugh on?
Yeah.
So chickens.
They would take shits on chickens?
Yeah, they would take shits on chickens because I don't know how many people know this, but if you shit in the middle of a chicken coop, they go bananas. Like, they go fucking wild and shit. And chickens eat shit, too.
They're excited to eat it?
They love them, yeah,
They're like stoked that you did that?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so like
so they
you lay a
fucking go
steamer
bananas.
in the middle of the coop and they're freaking out.
Oh, yeah. So, like, they also do fun shit like that. But yeah, and I love
fun.
them. Yeah, no, they're cool people.
Dude, I'd be afraid that when I was like bending down to take the shit, like a chicken would come over and like try to peck my
That's what happens. So you
ball
have to
sack or something.
That's my question to my uncle. Exactly. So he goes, yeah, you have to climb a ladder. And then you hang your ass off the top part, which I would be.
That sounds like a high dive shitter.
It sounds like a balancing issue, too.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
That's
You
the
have
worst
to have
way.
the squat down.
Yeah, I know. Then imagine if
Nicely.
you fell and broke your neck and then you become paralyzed off of fucking that shit.
And the
instead.
worst would be if you fell after the shit had already fallen, so you fell into your
Oh,
own shit.
dude, yeah. You get
That'd be-
impaled by shitty chicken beaks.
Oh
Ugh.
God. Yeah, that would be pretty fucking shitty.
Yeah, right? But like they always had a fucking.
No, I have a story with the shit towel too, because
Awesome. I had no idea there existed another shit towel story.
Yeah, it's. I'm sure it's a thing in countries where it's.
I think
a shit towel is a
country
thing.
people internationally do similar shit.
Yeah, so I was an au pair one time for 3 months with this Italian family. So I basically lived in their house.
What is au
and
pair?
It's basically like a nanny, but the premise of it is a lot of times an au pair is like a foreign person to teach the kids like the language. So like I was there and I didn't know Italian at all, but the kids were like supposed to be learning English. So I would talk to them all day in English so they get better at it. So anyways, I'm basically babysitting these kids. So we go, this family is super wealthy too. And they had like this country home like out in the countryside of like, Italy or whatever, outside of Milan. And they had like a bidet and shit. And they had toilet paper too. But like I was kind of thinking like, oh, well, like I'll try this out. I'll see what all the fuss is about.
Oh,
and
the
I'll
bidet,
try the
yeah.
bidet and stuff. And so I remember asking them, because they gave me all these towels, and I was like, "What's this towel?" It was like a thin towel, almost like a washcloth type of towel.
yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, that's the towel for after you clean yourself off after using the bidet." I'm like, "Oh, okay, gotcha." So like, this is the specific towel for that. I'm like, "Okay, makes sense." So you don't have a shit face situation.
Yeah,
they had
right.
They had thought of this. This was the shit towel, kind of like you have a cum rag or something. You have a shit towel.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
So anyways, and then they told me the other smaller towel was the cum rag. It wasn't just a washcloth.
Yeah.
But anyways, so they had this shit towel. So I'm like, okay, I'll use this. So I tried the bidet thing, and apparently I didn't wash it thoroughly enough because as soon as I used the shit towel, it was like a pink towel. I just had a streak all up the towel.
Damn.
And I'm like, oh God. Like,
Yeah.
The little kids are, merda. I'm pretty sure that's the word.
Well, luckily I had my own little private
French.
bathroom. Again, like this family was like pretty wealthy, so I had my own little private room, private bathroom. But I remember being super embarrassed because I didn't do the laundry. Like I would give all my laundry to like the housekeeper lady, and she would do it. So I remember feeling like really embarrassed to give her my towels because I just had a giant
It's
skid
just
mark
saying,
like right up the
man.
towel. But
Yeah, I would have just thrown it away in their weird small Italy trash can.
yeah, it was, but also the housekeeper emptied the trash cans too, so like she probably would have seen it in there and been like, "Why are you throwing away the shit towel?
Yeah, you throw it away.
We
and
just wash it."
you go up to them and you're just like, at some point today you're going to encounter poop. You just tell it to them like that.
Yeah, but the thing is like I probably could have like blamed it on the kids somehow. You know what's another crazy thing about that? You know what's another crazy
Did they
thing
get
about
an
that
Italian
story?
beating?
Yeah, so another crazy thing about that time was I was living at that house, and one of the weirdest things about their toilets was they were like those tiny toilets that's like just a circle basically. Like they still hadn't figured out like, oh, if we elongate it, like you can actually sit on it
the
better.
difference, yeah.
It's so dumb. And then the other thing that's weird, our toilets here, a lot of times the like hole part is like towards the back. But for whatever reason in Italy, a lot of the toilets, the way that they're shaped, like the hole part is like towards the front. So when you take a shit, it's like a mudslide down the back. Like it's basically just like you're like pooping onto like a surface and it slides down, which is
man.
awful. Like it's just not a fun time. Like they just hadn't figured this shit out yet, literally.
Damn.
So
That's crazy,
so
man.
the grossest thing. So this, we're talking about shit.
Yeah, we're talking about shit.
So I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's gross. And I swear to God, I see a little white like thing come out of my poop, like a little thread, and it was a fucking little worm, and then it went back in. And I thought I was like hallucinating for a second because it literally came out, did a little inchworm shit, and then went back in the shit. And I was like,
it was a little Italian worm
just...
coming out to tell you to keep it the fuck down out there.
Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, did I just see that? It was white. So then I Google and I'm like, white tiny worm in poop. And sure enough, there's a thing called a thread worm, and it's this little white worm that like, gets in your poop or whatever. And I look it up, and it's like really common for kids to get it because they're like, you get it by like touching poop and then like eating something, touching your mouth, and then the worms like live in your bowel or whatever. So I'm like, these fucking kids gave me a fucking thread worm, and I was pissed because I'm like, these fucking shitty ass kids not washing their hands, fucking touching poop, and then they fucking touch my apple or something.
To them probably looked hilarious because now the American guy is getting upset and they can't understand it.
But the thing is I like, what am I supposed to say? Like, go to the parents and be like, hey, so I found a thread worm in my shit, and
your weird old-fashioned country made my poop weird.
Yeah. But so I started looking at the symptoms and stuff. One of the symptoms is apparently at night, these worms can tell when you're sleeping, and they come out of your asshole and lay eggs around your anus. And like one of the symptoms is you have a scratchy asshole because these worms are literally crawling around your butt. And so I was paranoid the whole fucking time after I saw that. Like, is my asshole itchy? Like, is it? Because like your asshole sometimes just gets itchy for no reason, even when there's no worms in it.
Yeah.
But then I was just paranoid that my asshole was itchy because there was worms in it.
It's the classic shave your beard, do I have herpes situation.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it happens to me all the time. But anyways, luckily, closing of the story, never saw another worm. And I never had any problems. So
you had a little polite European worm.
Yeah, I just had one little one-off worm, and I got rid of him apparently. So.
Oh damn! So you never saw a doctor or nothing?
No, because I was kind of afraid to like tell the parents too, because apparently they're kind of contagious too, because I didn't want them to think I got it, and then I would maybe give it to the kids or something.
Oh, and then they'll kick you out.
And then they'd be like, "Oh, well, you have this contagious threadworm. Like, you gotta go home."
Yeah,
like,
now you're the American guy that gets shit
brings
everywhere.
threadworms everywhere. Yeah, so I'm like,
Yeah, and what good is an Italy doctor? They probably got like wooden shit. I wouldn't want to go.
And I was on the countryside too, and the parents weren't there at the time. Like, it was this whole fucking thing. And you know what the grossest part is? The treatment is you're supposed to put some shit around your asshole while you're sleeping to like kill the worm. So when they come out to lay eggs, they like eat poison and then like come back in and die.
What, really?
So you like when your kid has it, like while they're sleeping, you're supposed to go in there and fucking spread their cheeks and rub some cream on their taint and fucking and I'm like, am I supposed to like rub some and then honestly a thought went through my brain. I'm like, should I go and like try to do that to the like? Should I don't know. Like it was just weird.
That'd be a tough one to explain.
Yeah, again, like the creep level is just off the charts. So I'm like, nah, there's no way I'm trying to do that to those kids.
Yeah,
you know what? That's
it was like vinegar or something you're supposed to put around your butt.
I would have all the stuff that you were like that would have been really inappropriate. I absolutely would have gone and done it.
If somebody catches you with your finger on a kid's asshole, you're not gonna really have a lot of time to explain yourself. You can't be like, well, you see, I had a silly little worm. It'd just be a tough one.
Yeah, but luckily, again, like I never saw the worm again. I flushed him, and he just said hello and went on his merry way.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe
A little Italian worm.
A little Italian. He had a baguette.
Yeah, he had his little mustache.
No, that's French. What the fuck am I talking about? What's super Italian? He had like a Ferrari.
There you go. He got on a little scooter.
He's like, why are you in my sheet? Why are you looking at me? Oh my God. Yeah. Good times. Good
you know
times.
what's really Italian? He has a worm wife that he treats terribly, but for some reason loves him very much. That seems
and shit.
That seems to be a very Italian thing.
Yeah. You know what's another funny thing about the Italian family? The dad told me like I could slap the kid if I wanted to. Like he was like, if he's acting up, just slap him upside the head. That'll teach him or whatever. And I'm like, geez. But I actually took him up on it like once or twice because they were being little shits.
I mean, how often do you get clearance to just smack it?
Oh, you got to take advantage of that.
Yeah. No, I remember one time we were at the beach and the kid threw sand in my eye and I fucking threw it back and he started crying. But I was like, that's what you get.
Oh. Well, I don't know if he said that. But,
I know.
But you did it. You did it.
Like,
you did do it.
He gets mad. He's like, I said you could slap him, not throw sand at him.
Yeah.
But that was
that
weird.
even to me seems like a pretty chill reaction considering.
You know what? One time I was getting Chinese food drunk at Georgia Southern, and they literally had like this 5-year-old daughter working the cash register. So she forgot. She did a little misstep. Like I got a drink because she didn't give me the styrofoam cup right away, like something like that. And that mom just fucking backhanded her. And I was like, what do I do? This isn't particularly a funny story, but I was just like, holy shit, dude. Yeah. I did nothing about it, but I was like, some people just raise them. I personally was never hit, but also.
Did you get spanks ever?
One time my aunt threw me. But I deserved it. She was sleeping, and I did the weirdest thing. I pushed on her eyeball with my thumb. It's such a weird thing to fucking do.
It's the most little kid fucking thing to do. Wonder what would happen if I jammed my thumb in my aunt's eye.
And she woke up and she just picked me up and she threw me. And then I hit the wall. And I remember I got really pissed off. And I was like 4.
How old? Oh, you were 4?
I was 4.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah, you could throw a 4-year-old pretty far.
Oh, hell yeah, you can. But no, in general, no, I didn't get hit. My dad could always discipline me and it would be intimidating enough that I never had to get to that point. Because this is something that's, I think, missing from some parents, like millennial parents, and it's the ability to yell and strike fear in your heart. Because yelling is not as simple as raising your voice. You have to have a bark to you. My dad had a good bark to him.
Yeah. I think the thing is, too, is you gotta kind of follow up on your promises at least once or twice in the beginning.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Or else they don't believe anything you're saying. Because now if my dad laughs at me, I kind of laugh. My dad yells at me, I kind of laugh because it's what are you going to do? Are you going to, Did your parents ever hit you or anything? I mean, not hit, but did they spank you?
There was 1 or 2 times where it got really bad, but spanking, was a pretty regular part of my childhood.
Yeah,
I used to. Sorry, real quick. This is it's fucked up. I remember when I was a kid, growing up in the South, everybody gets beat. Everybody, and they would all talk about how they got beat, and then so I would lie and say I got beat too, so they
to fit in.
Yeah,
to have grit.
I know it's the weirdest way to fucking fit in, but
and Arabs don't get scars either, so maybe our skin
our skin's different. Yeah, it's fucking it just molds right back over. Yeah, but most Arab kids get beat a lot. I'm remember one kid got beat with extension cords and shit. I was like, God damn, you guys are overdoing it.
That would hurt.
Yeah, anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
No, that's weird. Yeah, when parents start getting all saw about it and picking fun stuff to do.
Yeah, right?
That shit's not cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I remember one time my dad spanked me. He had they had this weird little piece of rubber. And they literally called it Mr. Spanker.
Hey, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah, white people do that. White people do that.
Very similar. It's the psychological abuse. That's white people's strength, I think.
Do you want to see Mr. Spanker?
The ability to oppress without actually doing anything.
Interesting.
Using your mind, I mean.
Yeah.
And it's I had a friend who had Mr. Frowny. And this one was worse. This, to me, felt like the psychological aspect of it was even worse than the fucking spankings. Mr. Frowny was a spoon that had a frowny face drawn on it with a tear coming out of it. And it had little phrases written on it, don't, please, stuff like that. This is fucked up.
Pleading with you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
And
please don't make me hit another child.
Yeah, because now you're making it, because any kid.
That's on the kid, yeah.
Yeah, because if you get hit with a spoon, I mean, that's fucked up, but if it's just a quick whatever, a kid can probably get over that. But to feel like you're making a spoon do something it doesn't want to, or just there's this whole other side of it.
Because one of my friend's mom, he's a white kid, and I kind of felt like white people do this with the character spanking tools.
Yeah.
Because his mom, I remember one time, she should just beat him with their hand. And one time she was slapping his little brother, spanking him as hard as she could. She broke her wrist, and I was there for that. So her wrist fucking snapped. So then. After
she's mad about that and she hits him with the other hand.
Yeah, so then she had to get that a cast or whatever. But then it turned into Mr. Spoon. So now she's like, okay, now I learned my lesson,
Yeah.
Let's put some safety precautions around the spanking. So now she uses a spoon with a little face on
I think
it.
it's
I
almost...
just don't like the idea of introducing characters. I feel like that can be helpful if you're teaching them how to count or something like that. But
yeah.
Don't put eyes on shit that is used for
Mine
abuse.
Luckily, they didn't draw a face or anything, but it was just called Mr. Spanker. I feel like there's got to be some sort of white people parenting book that suggests that, because it can't be it just everyone thought of that
It's a cultural thing, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the interesting thing is, I remember.
And another thing, it doesn't work because generally white kids are the most misbehaved.
Yeah.
They'll talk back. They don't fucking give a fuck.
Yeah. Honestly, the worst behaved kids I've met are the kids that got beat too much. Because another thing that some of them used to do is that they would just beat their kids even if they didn't do anything. They had we haven't beat him in a week, So there's time to beat him. I remember this one kid, he cushioned his ass, and his mom found the cushion, like, what is this? And pulls out like a bunch of Charmin or whatever. And he was like,
poor kid.
I know. Oh yeah, that kid was so
Fuck.
weird. One of the hardest times I've ever laughed is that, do you know, like, first off, this kid, just give you an idea, his name was Isaiah. He's real fucking Jesus-y and shit. And he used to wear all the time this fucking shirt that said Jesus Rocks, and the American flag was on it, and it was all with sequins, and then there was like a red electric guitar. Like, it was a shirt that you can't not bully this kid. Like, we have to bully this kid.
It says a lot about you. It says a lot.
And then, like, one time, do you remember, like, in middle school or any time, like, outside, they would have, like, these, like, vents and had, like, the circular fan that'd be, like, spinning? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like an AC unit, but outside.
Yeah, it's like an
outside,
AC unit outside, and, like, the fan is down here. I remember one of my friends hawked a loogie in it, and it just was, like, you heard it, like, twirl around in there, and then it shot out and hit Isaiah in the eye, and he flipped the fuck out. So then he's fat, too. So he starts chasing the kid who spit in it. And then this is when we found out Isaiah has a really high ass crack. For some reason, this fat kid's ass crack starts like where your fucking like last 3 vertebrae are supposed to be. So he's walking around. And then, you know, when in a fight, inevitably your ass crack is going to show. But if you have a regular ass crack, there's not a big deal to be made. But his ass crack was so high, they were just like, dude, your ass crack, it's too high, you know? And I laughed so hard. It was one of those laughs where you're like heaving and shit. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
That's
amazing.
just so much happening at once.
Oh, it was like
Was he wearing
It's
the
like
Jesus
the
Rock
it's
shirt?
like the loogie.
Yes, he was. He was wearing the Jesus Rock shirt.
The only thing that would have been better is if it knocked off one of the sequins or something.
The loogie went so fast it knocked the sequin off.
It was
Yeah.
it was a few times like it was just the funniest. It was like, do you remember the game Kitty Cannon?
Yeah, where you shoot the cat.
Yeah,
out of
remember
the
like
cannon?
sometimes you would keep on hitting dynamite. You're like, hell yeah, like it's going far as shit. This is one of those ones where the loogie in the eye, that's already funny enough. And then now they're fighting and chasing each other. That's hilarious. Now his ass crack is high too. That was like the 3rd dynamite you hit. You're like, dude, this is a fucking high score right here.
Yeah, it was like a combo in Tony Hawk's
Oh.
Pro Skater.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just fucking ching, ching, ching.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
when you get the good transitions.
Yes,
Yeah,
dude.
man.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember like in school there was this one day when I was wearing these I was wearing these like Converse, but they were fake Converse and they had like Georgia symbols on them, like the Georgia G. And I remember like thinking to like it was just like bully Andrew day that day. I never got
Yeah.
bullied in school, but I remember it was like one of those types of situations where like
Yeah.
thing after thing after thing happens. So this like at the beginning of the day, people were like making fun of me for these shoes, but mainly because it was like stupid kids that where their parents went to Georgia Tech or something, like your shoes are dumb or whatever, and I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck you, I'm a dog, or like whatever, like,
Yeah.
and then like some girl, there was like a Georgia Tech fan, like on the way to recess, like there was like a 3-step thing, and she kicked my shoe at the top of the stairs right as I'm going down, so I fucking fall down these stairs, and I'm just like sitting there like trying not to like cry and shit because I have like, you know,
Yeah.
scraped up hands and stuff, and then like on top of that. Then some kid like started making fun of me because I was short too, and I just like wanted to go home and like cry. That was like the only day I ever
yeah.
got like bullied at school. But I remember it was like thing after thing after
There's
thing.
thing.
Normally I could have handled the short comment or the kick or whatever, but it was just like
And then I
I just
remember
felt like it was fuck with Andrew Day.
there was some cartoon or some show where they introduced everybody to the swirly. Where you stick a kid's
like
head
Ned's
in.
Declassified
I think it was
or
Ned's
something.
Declassified. And nobody knew what it was, but then it gave people this fucking idea of swirling. I remember it never happened to me. I saw a kid get swirly though.
Yeah.
It was
Ooh.
I went to a private middle school, and like one of the things, to go back to the Mr. Spanker thing, you could get paddled at the school.
Damn.
So like your parents gave consent, like if you got in trouble, you could go to the principal's office and get like paddled or whatever. And I remember I never got paddled. AJ went to the school too. Did you ever get paddled?
I almost got paddled one time. I remember because one time.
Here, get closer to the microphone. Yeah.
Let me tell the story.
Have at it, Chief.
So one time, I was there's this girl I really liked, and I was just like I was trying to make her laugh or something, and I made up something like called this, and I was like, if you look at it for 5 seconds, it means you're gay. and so
Dude, that's true though.
and so what happened was,
I've done it.
and so what happened was she was like going around doing it to everyone, and then I remember like this one teacher brought me out and he's like, what is this? And I remember I tried so hard not to laugh, But I was like, oh, if you look at that, it means you're gay.
Just told him.
And so I just told him, and then
And he was like, "Don't show it to me for more than 5 seconds, god damn it!"
I went to the principal's office, and then she's like, "So what does this mean?" Apparently he like didn't tell her or something like that, and so I was just like, if you look at it, it means you're gay, and she's like, if you would not have told me that, you would have been getting paddled right now.
Oh, because she didn't paddle you.
So
she knew.
So she knew it already. She just needed you to say it.
Yeah.
That is unusual that you told the truth the whole time. You know what I mean? That's good.
Yeah, that does make sense because
that you could have pretty easily lied about. You could have said,
But maybe the girl said something, and so then, the same type of shit would happen at this school all the time. I remember we watched a movie one time at my friend's house, and some little kid from the school was over because like his little brother was friends with him, and we watched it was like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah.
And like there's one part where the French guy says shit. And I remember we were like, Billy, look away during this part, because it says it on the screen, and he didn't look away, and so he learned the word shit that day, and then he went home and was like, Mom, shit. And she was like, where'd you learn that? From Andrew and Ivy or whatever. And then it all came back to us. And then somehow it got brought up at school. Like, it was like the dumbest thing ever. Like this.
Oh, that's weird.
Dude, this private middle school was like a cult. It was pretty funny. But anyways.
Sounds like
Well,
it.
you
If you
know
were
that-
able to be spanked, what kind of a when I hear that, I think this principal must just really like spanking.
It didn't happen often.
Because if
it was
I'm
like
the principal there, I'm going to be like, I'm going to go to a PTA meeting and be like, as the principal here, I kind of want to say I'm not on board with spanking a kid that's not mine.
The other weird thing was I never knew if it was like bare ass or not, and that
I
was
would
the
think
other
probably
thing.
not.
That'll be funny.
Yeah, but do you know if it was bare ass? I think they made you go down to your underwear.
He spanks you. Who's gay now?
one of my friends got paddled, and he was just like, it was really weird. Like they pulled down my pants. No, they don't pull down your pants. But he's like, it was just really weird because he like bends you over, and it's like the headmaster, and it's like this old guy.
The
Yeah.
headmaster.
Yeah, the headmaster. That's a weird name too.
Yeah, because that's like
Headmaster.
getting like a whooping from your parents is one thing, but being administered a spanking is like it's all formal and oh god.
Well, there was
Yeah.
one girl I know, and she went to public school, but it was in a really country ass part. I think it was in Harlem, Georgia, which is like well outside of Augusta. And they had that you could either get spanked or go to detention, and everybody would just pick spanking.
Because it's over.
It's over fast. You get 3 swats. But there was this one girl when she went in to get spanked, and I know this girl. She was the one telling the story. After the first one, she goes, "Hit me harder," and then he was like, "All right, just get out of here. It's already done."
Dude.
And then she could always get out of that by doing that. She just get hit once, and she'd be like, "I like that," and she'd be like,
That's fucking smart.
Yeah, you
That's
just
really
go-
smart.
And she's fucking hot too.
Oh,
So, like,
man.
it feels wrong
What
in
if he
every
then
sense.
like went harder at it, like fucking?
That's also the gamble, yeah. Is that you could also just have a creepy fucking
Well,
principal.
also, like this happened to me one time. I was gonna bring this up earlier with the Mr. Spanker. One time, I remember my dad hit me, and of course, like my dad's a grown ass man. He's not trying to fucking bruise my ass. He's just trying to give me a spanking, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to gauge how hard you need to smack it.
Sure.
So I remember like getting hit, and then it not hurting, and I giggled because I was like, I guess I was like, that's it. Like, and then my dad got mad because then he's like, oh, you think it's funny, huh? And then he fucking gave me the spank of a
Oh,
lifetime. So it was like one of those things where, you know.
have to like fake pain.
That's exactly what I would do no matter how bad it hurt. Like,
Yeah.
then from now on, I learned the game. It was like, even if it didn't hurt, I was like, oh, please stop.
It is crazy to think that this shit is kind of on the way out. I think it's safe to say a lot of people our age probably were spanked at least a few times.
And then
Yeah.
my mom did something, and I mean, maybe it's just a common thought, but like I kind of think it's like genius in the long run is that like she would just pinch the fat on the back of your arm and twist, and it made you stop doing anything you were doing.
Yeah.
Like that instantly straightens out any kid, and it hurts. There's not like a brutal. There's not like a weird it's not like you're backhanding a
Yo,
kid.
and you can do it in public, and it kind of doesn't make that much of a scene.
It doesn't.
That's true.
Because if you're flailing, like people are now like looking and like, but if
Yeah.
you just do like a quick little like, you know,
Oh yeah.
parents are probably taking notes. They're probably like, okay, I was
Yeah.
subtle. I like that.
Well, the thing that you want to do, I've learned, is like you want to have enough fear in your child that they know not to act up in public because they're gonna get it later. Because you can't really do much in public. You're kind of powerless in public And it's really embarrassing as a parent to punish
Oh,
your kid in
yeah,
public.
yeah.
Because not only is your kid acting up, but then you look like an asshole punishing them.
Right.
But if they know that like some shit's gonna go down as soon as they
Yeah.
get home, like that kind of shuts it down.
Now it does shut it down. And she told me she learned all that shit because she was always like the smallest girl in school. Like she was really smart. Like she was like 4 years old in first grade and shit. And so all the
She
kids
was super hot for some reason in first grade too.
and the school, because Syrian school is super scary. Apparently, like
Your mom you're talking about?
yeah, my mom.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the girl that said
Yeah,
"spank
no,
me harder."
yeah.
That's why I said the hot thing.
I know.
I wasn't talking
I know.
about your mom,
I
but your
lo-
mom's probably hot too.
I laughed because you said it. I was like, well, that was a weird thing to say. Let's go
Yeah,
on.
me too.
But then I was like, did I say something about my mom being hot? You know? But anyway. So,
Nah,
yeah, so
just
she,
follow her on Facebook.
Yeah.
so she learned how to pinch people. That's how she would stop people from doing shit to her. She would just fucking like be administering pinches. So she's fucking good with her thumb and whatever this part of your forefinger is.
Yeah.
But yeah. I remember one time she told me that this girl wouldn't stop bullying her. So she chewed up a whole bunch of gum and just stuck it in the girl's hair and just ran off.
Oh.
I know. Was that
Yeah,
mean? So that
that's
girl had to
harsh.
get a haircut.
Yeah. That's not fun.
Yeah, you'll fuck somebody up.
Have
like
you
that.
ever stuck gum? Have you ever seen that happen? It happened in my middle school one time.
You
No.
have to use peanut butter to get it out, or you
I
just
don't
have to
think
cut
peanut
it
butter.
out.
I think that's a joke because that seems stickier.
I think with the peanut butter, it works its way into the gum and kind of like separates it from like the wad. Cause like as like a whole, it's hard to like it like works its way into the gum kind of like.
Oh,
That's the strategy. You can't just like throw some peanut butter at it and then all of a sudden the gum just like comes out.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, but they did do that because oddly enough, Isaiah, the kid with the loogie in his eye, stuck gum in this girl's hair. And we were like, why did you do that? And he was like, I literally don't know. Like
Jesus
he just
told me.
did weird things. Yeah, Jesus told. He used to eat paper too. He's one of those kids.
Yeah, this guy Isaiah sounds. I wonder where Isaiah is now.
Oh, like
What would you say to Isaiah if he's listening to this right now?
I hope you lost weight, dude. Because he was fat and had a bowl cut. And I'm like, I hope you look a little more presentable now.
Oh my god.
I want to
That's
ask him,
amazing.
how did you wash the shirt that had the sequins on it? I'd feel like they would come out.
That's probably true.
And also,
I feel like you could just ask a girl that, like, ask a stripper how they wash
how
their
they wash the
outfits.
glitter.
Yeah.
And then also tell him this, and this may sound mean, but he needed to wash his folds more because his locker would be next to mine in the gym. And when he took off his shirt, it smelled it smelled like mildew and shit. It smelled terrible. Not armpit mustiness. It
The
was like
folds of his fat had like
literal you've probably done this before where you leave your clothes too long in the washing machine and they get that stankness to them.
Yup.
That's how this man's
whole being was.
whole being was. But then there was one kid real quick. It was a science class where everybody just fucked off, man. He was the kid who ends up just going to jail and doing a bunch of terrible things. But you could tell when he was a kid, he was always a fuck up. I remember. Do you remember like everybody would get a whole bunch of dirt and shit inside of the the part of the sneakers where there's like all that tread, like this part?
Wait, say that again?
Like you know how
Like if
sometimes
you got like Converse or whatever, it gets in the little wedges at the bottom of the rubber. The dirt does.
Yeah.
like dirt and grass
yeah.
from running around outside
yeah.
and shit. And I remember one time, it was kind of like you, where you're talking like this kid didn't lie when he got in trouble. He just said the truth, was just so weird to me. He rolled up, he took out all that shit in a pencil with a pencil off his shoe, and he put on this big sheet of paper in the middle of science class, and he rolled it up like
And smoked it.
like a joint. Yeah, like he's gonna smoke it. And then when he took it up to inhale, he didn't really know how to roll well, so all the dirt and shit just went into his mouth. And he was like, he coughs up all this dirt, and then after
All
the
this cylinder-shaped dirt.
all this cylinder-shaped dirt, and then after that happened, the teacher.
So he thought he was being funny, like, oh, I'm gonna smoke this.
yeah, he's just doing this to be funny, but then all the dirt went into his mouth, and then the teacher was like, Justin, like, what are you doing? And he's like, I was trying to make people laugh by making it look like I was smoking a big blunt. And we're like, you didn't have to say that.
The dirt was the like
Like, he just
honesty
didn't lie.
potion or
Right.
whatever.
You just said it to her. And I was just like, why would you could have said anything else. And she's like, the principal's office or whatever. You didn't get spanked. We didn't do spankings.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, he ended up going to jail because he
For
loved,
smoking real stuff.
and he was like a rich white kid too, but he just loved hanging out with sketchy ass people.
That's almost always how it goes.
So he started doing the whole like talking like he played up the Ebonics and all that shit, like trying to be like with that crowd. And then like so he was hanging out with all these drug dealers, and like the police burst in, and they had all these guns on the table and shit, and they had scratched off serial numbers. So he now was facing serious time for all this stuff. And of course,
even though he was just hanging with him, trying to be cool.
He was hanging with him, trying to be cool. And then just to show you the difference between like somebody who's pretending, he just snitched on everybody and got off.
Oh,
he
shit.
Just snitched on everybody and then just moved and changed every number he had and whatnot. Then remember when I was at Georgia Southern, he connected with me on Words with Friends. And I was like, hey, Justin.
You played the word snitch as your first word?
Yeah, new message, little. And then I talked to him, and he dropped the Ebonics and everything. He was like, hello, Khaled. I was like, oh, this is a little different. Hey, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's funny.
He's a funny kid, though.
Yeah.
He one time did you guys ever used to watch Cat House on HBO with your friends?
Cat House?
One kid had HBO, so you could see titties on his TV. So we'd all watch titties together.
Yeah.
I remember Justin one time jerked off. And no, I was like, do I call him
when
Albert?
Everyone was in the room?
Yeah, under the blanket, thought nobody could see it. And I remember Alex was like, dude, are you fucking jerking off right now? And
that was
like,
one of my first jerk-off stories, too.
He lied, though, in that circumstance. He was like, I am not jerking off. It was like very obvious he was.
Yeah, that's a weird situation. Yeah, I think many a late-night TV spot has caused one of those weird situations among friends.
I know, because kind of when you first see porn or you even discover titties or anything like that, or one kid has HBO, you have to tell somebody.
Yeah, it's better that than fucking Omegle or all the other ones.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
Because also then you get like the weird thing where it's like chat with strangers and it's like, it looks like it's a girl, but it's actually just like an old man jacking off to you.
I know, yeah.
Dude, one time me and my friends got scammed like that because basically we got catfished essentially on Omegle.
You were bamboozled.
We were bamboozled
Yeah.
because we were at his house. Like it was chat roulette though. I think it wasn't Omegle or whatever. But we finally found this group of girls and they were like talking to us, but their mic was off, which should have been a telltale sign. But we were just like horny and like 14 or whatever. We're like, oh, these girls are talking to us, and then like. I remember we chatted with them for like a long time.
Yeah,
we didn't like do
hours.
We didn't do anything. Like we didn't take off our pants or like anything like that. So luckily, nothing really happened. But as soon as it got to that level, like it was about to get to that level, like I specifically remembered something in the video with the girls happening that was like looping from previously. Like it was like a video that was like on repeat. Like it was like an hour-long video or whatever. And then it was like looping again. So I remember this one girl, I don't remember it specifically, but I remember being like, having this internal dialogue while my friend was still chatting and being like, oh, ha, ha, blah, blah, blah. And I was just sitting there like, and I'm like, wait a second, that girl looped. These are fake. Wait a second, it's probably an old man jacking off to us. What the fuck? And I was like, dude. And he's like, what? Stop embarrassing me in front of these chicks or like whatever. And I'm like, dude, we gotta turn it off. And he's like, what? And I was like, trust me. And I like turned it off and I was like, dude, that thing happened. And he's like, who cares? I'm like, dude, that means there's probably like an old dude jacking off to us or something. And then we both were just like, ah! Like we both just freaked out.
I love who cares.
Yeah, he's like,
That's
who cares
great.
if they're fake? Because in his brain, he was still thinking like, we're still talking to these hot chicks, but they're just not wanting to show us a real video of them. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, he was thinking, like, we're still talking to chicks. Like, who cares? Like, who cares if the video is fake?
Yeah, who
Yeah, their
cares?
mic was off, but we were still, like, chatting with real babes, like, in the chat.
Like it's just even hotter babes behind the GIF.
Yeah.
All right. Now that you've made it past the loop, it's time to find out.
But you know, one time,
It's like Scooby-Doo.
yeah, dude,
I've always thought about
it's just Don Knotts. You're like, oh shit.
I don't know if you guys have ever Tindered it up, but back in the day, it would be very common to get like a message, and it would be like, "Hey, you're cute. You want to hang out? Go to bit.ly//
Oh, shit,
And I
yeah.
always thought about what would happen, like if there really was like a hot girl on the other end, being like, "Well, no one's gonna do this," and like you go to it, and you got to go to the address or whatever, and then you get there, and it's her, and she's like, "Hey, you're the first one."
Right?
And then you're just like, damn, that's crazy. I've learned a very bad lesson today.
Yeah.
Can I tell you the Omegle
Yeah.
thing real quick fast?
Yeah.
Because you just reminded me. It's very similar to your story, except it wasn't a GIF. It's trying to be real. It was like me and my friend were chatting with this girl on Omegle or chat roulette, one of that shit.
Yeah, something like that. Peer-to-peer
for
chatting.
so long. and she was like, show me your penises and all this stuff. And we're like, I'll show you. If she was like teasing with her like her top or whatever, you know. And so I was like, okay, we came to the decision. We're like, give us a second. And so I was discussing with him. I was like,
that's always the deliberation. Like, I mean, you're gonna see my dick, but also this girl's gonna see my dick. So
I said, let's show her our dick separately, but you got to walk out the room. And then I'll call you back in after she's seen my dick.
That's amazing.
And so after he went first, and then I came in, I showed her my penis, which was unusually puby for a 14-year-old. and then
she's like, where?
And
just like a forest.
Literally,
Oh,
everybody jumped out. Like there was so many people in the room, and they all started laughing. And so shut down.
So
the
originally
computer.
it was just one girl, and then a bunch of people were there at a party trying to get some dude to show them their dick.
Yeah, which
As a
honestly,
joke.
jokes on them because that's child porn. For your
Yeah.
shit. There's like 14-year-old penises. This is 8th grade, so whatever age that is.
Jesus Christ.
And then yeah, shut it down. And then I was like, well, this is gonna be a viral video now, and my dick is gonna be everywhere. And I went into like these terrible conclusions where I'm like, now I'm never gonna fucking get a job because everybody's gonna know me as like 14-year-old puby dick boy.
Someone was telling me recently about how they knew a guy that was in one of those pizza delivery, like Flash the Pizza Delivery Man videos, and like this chick was like a cam girl, a porn star, something, where she was making these videos for fun or for her channel or whatever. But she would show up at the door, all sexy or whatever, and like flash the pizza delivery. But it was real. But luckily his face was blurred or whatever. You couldn't really see him.
Yeah.
But he was in the video. I think this might have been on Reddit or something like that. But but it was crazy because he like later the clip went like viral. But luckily his face was blurred. But he was like, he had told one of his buddies about it. He's like, dude, you'll never gonna believe this, but like this shit happened to me, blah blah blah. And then eventually he was like watching porn and like saw himself in the porn.
Oh, what a trip.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it's crazy.
Damn.
I want to wrap this podcast up, but one last thing
yeah.
I wanted to say was
Please.
with the Tinder thing, with the bio, apparently they misspell a lot of that shit. You know how like it's like poorly written and stuff, and I always thought it was because it was foreign people, but it's actually they do it on purpose because the only people dumb enough to click the links are dummies. They don't realize how stupid the person seems. Like they'll literally like use bad grammar and spell shit wrong on purpose so that like the lowest quality possible human is clicking, so they know they're gonna be able to scam you easier.
Oh, that's smart.
Same thing with scams. Like they'll send you an email that's like poorly written. So the only dummies that are responding are people that are just complete idiots.
Wow, that makes sense.
It's pretty genius, honestly.
That's pretty cool.
So anyways,
you know.
the next email I'm sending out, I'm gonna send with like poor grammar and link to the podcast.
Hell yeah.
But guys, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having us.
This
I've
was
had a great
super
time.
fun.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where you can listen to opinions and shit.
Please, okay, so audio episodes are still available on SoundCloud. We're working on getting the audio for the new ones up. But as of right now, if you want to see the brand new episodes, just go to YouTube, type in OAS Podcast. It is the one that is not the two Chinese women.
And I'll be sure to link everything in the notes and whatever.
And then the YouTube channel is
you.
OAS Podcast.
OAS Podcast, and you can follow us on Instagram at OAS Podcast for all of our updates on whatever. And yeah, that's where
And
to find
if
us.
people want to see you doing stand-up in Atlanta, you guys how do you find your tour dates? On
Well,
your social media and stuff?
We haven't been just because we haven't had the page in a while, but we'll share on our Instagram story where we'll be at
Yeah.
if you want to come and see us.
Definitely.
There we go.
All right, well, dude, thank you so much for having us,
Dude,
man.
thank you guys. All right, we'll see you later, everybody.
Peace out.
Boom. There you have it. Thanks again to the guys for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode, I really think you would enjoy going back to listen to episode 21, the first episode I did with Will. We talked all about his upbringing, his intro into comedy, and the racial segregation that still exists in the comedy world, and we talked about his story of hanging out with T.I. It was an amazing episode. Go check it out. Also, go listen to their podcast. It's funny as shit. I know you guys will enjoy it. Definitely, if you enjoyed listening to this, you'll enjoy listening to the Opinions and Shit podcast. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is to go to the app that you're using right now, take a screenshot, and then share it on your Instagram story, share it on Facebook. Word of mouth is the number one way that people find out about the podcast, so sharing it on social media is really helpful. And if you want to follow me, you can go to my social media handles and accounts. You can find them all on my website, andrewdeitsch.com. But that's pretty much it for me. That's all I got. Thanks again for listening, especially all you loyal peeps who listen every single week. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next one.
But like a TED talk about your dick though. A little fucking earpiece, like my fucking cock.